Engines roar, the night ignites, rubber burns under neon lights, chrome shining, stars align, dreams hit the track, now it's grind time. Wrapped tight, tailpipes glow, pit stop precision, gotta keep that flow. Crowds a jungle, hearts in the choke, lap by lap, adrenaline spoke. Speed kings, chasing that checkered crown. Under the moon, we don't slow down. Saturday nights, we ride, we fly. Premium league, we touch the sky. Pedal to metal, no brakes in sight. Racing forever in the glowing night. V8 screaming, thunder on wheels, heat from the asphalt, raw and real. Tracks a snake, it twists and winds, grip the wheel, leave fear behind. Spotlights dance, tires squeal, victory's close, you can almost feel. Pulse is wild, the finish looms, the checkered flag, it seals the room. Premium league, we touch the sky. Pedal to metal, no brakes in sight. Racing forever in the glowing night. V8 screaming, thunder on wheels, heat from the asphalt, raw and real. Tracks a snake, it twists and winds, grip the wheel, leave fear behind. Spotlights dance, tires squeal, victory's close, you can almost feel. Pulse is wild, the finish looms, the checkered flag, it seals the room.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome in as we get ready to rock and roll here at the beautiful Homestead-Miami Speedway for our second race of the Premium Stock Car Racing League season. Oh, baby, it is time to get it on like Donkey Kong as all these drivers completing their practice session. They'll get ready to rumble out onto the racetrack here for their qualifying efforts in just a few more moments. If you guys are just tuning in and you haven't already, make sure you guys do us a favor here real quick as we get ready to rock and roll out there on the racetrack. Hit the like button on the stream for us, hit that subscribe button, become part of the Peacemaker family here today, and jump into the comment section. Let us know who you're cheering for, who you want to see up in victory lane after an amazing night of racing action here from Homestead, as each and every one of these drivers will get their opportunity to try to put themselves onto the pole, to try to set themselves up for a great start here this evening. Jordan Crider and the Lonnie Crider, a Lonnie machine, getting ready to stroll out there onto the speedway. Here comes that Blue Bull Racing number 9 of Melvin Brangruer, the 76, the Dude Wipes machine of Mr. Farrell Robbins. Here comes the man, the master man in that beautiful Rubbered Up Productions Season 2 champion, the SpongeBob ride. It is Josh Crider. Crider is going to jump out there for his qualifying run here this evening, trying to put this 5 ride up and into the pole position. We'll have to wait and see if Josh can get it done here in this one, if he can pick up potentially our pole here this evening, as he's gonna head nice and easy down and out of these corners. See these drivers up there hugging the outside fence, trying to carry all that speed and momentum out there on the racetrack. Let's see if we can jump right on board here, get a good look in at Josh Crider during this qualifying run as he tries to put himself into potentially the pole position. Right now, last week's second place finisher Sean Wilder has the top spot, but here comes Crider down and out of corner number 4 across the line. Let's see where he can slide into, and it looks like he'll jump up into third for the time being. He may look to try to find a little bit extra speed here. They had 2 laps out there on the racetrack to try to find the quickest lap they can, and it looks like for Josh Crider, he's going to try to find a little bit more as more and more of these drivers jump out there. Josh continues to slide down just a little bit here from that pole position. Right now, he is about 2/10 of a second behind our pole sitter as of right now. So let's see if he can find it here. Lap number 2 is down across the line. He does pick up just a little over a tenth, and he jumps back into third. It's all threes here so far for the number 5 ride of Josh Crider on both those laps. Jumped into that third position. We'll see how long that one can stand and see if he can start up inside our top 3 here this evening, as he'll get ready to keep on battling. He'll get ready to keep on duking it out here this evening. Ryan Campbell, though, with the quick time so far here in this qualifying session. Here comes Grant Wesley. Wesley's going to slide out there in that beautiful iRacing Menards Ford Mustang. Open for a good lap here as well as he's down across the line. Looks like he will potentially stay right where he was. No quicker there is our rigid Home Depot Pro number 14 ride. Last week's winner, our season opener, went to the 14 of Jack Fletcher. And for Fletcher, looks like right now he's currently qualified in about the 8th position. So not a awful qualifying run there for him. Brian Underwood sits in about 11th. Brad Neer's out there on the track in that 16 ride. Here comes Jonathan Elardo and Derek Bates. He's in the beautiful Crown Royal number 2. And Nathan Brookover back out there in that Fireball number 7 ride, trying to find some quick time out there on the speedway, trying to put himself into a good starting spot here this evening. We're still waiting on Robert Wolf and Wesley Burke, as well as Brooke over here to get lap times in. So far, we have not seen Wolf or Burke jump out onto the speedway. For Brooke over, he does get a lap in, but I believe he may have gotten a piece of the outside fence. Doesn't look like that first lap registered for the number 7 ride, so he'll have to try to get that one figured back out. He'll have to try to get this thing a little bit more straightened out here in this race, as he's going to look for a little bit extra speed here. Jonathan Elardo does jump up into about the 12th position there in his second lap. Seems like a lot of these drivers are finding that extra bit of speed here in lap number 2 as Brookover down across the line. Jumps up into about the 17th position so far here in this qualifying session. Brad Neer, unfortunately, back in 23rd. Wolf and Burke both yet to qualify, and unfortunately, they're not going to get a qualifying run in, as qualifying has come to a close. So qualifying ending here this evening, and that will bring us to jumping into our feature event, 167 laps of racing action. Oh, baby, this is going to get fun in a quick hurry, as Robert Wolf over on Facebook does come in and hit that follow button. We also saw Grant Wesley come in with the follow over on Facebook as well. We do have a Facebook side of things. We don't really stream there anymore, just because the quality gets toned down by so much. Facebook just throttles us back. So if anyone's cheering Robert Wolf on or Grant Wesley and they want to tune in and watch and enjoy this amazing broadcast at the same time, make sure that you send them over here to the YouTube stream, so that way they can get in on the fun here on YouTube as well. As we'll get ready to set these drivers loose, we'll get ready to go to battle, as Eastwood in the chat says Team Lee, cheering on Lee here this evening, as each and every one of these drivers going to be looking to find victory lane. But first, we got to jump into our Lonnie Crider opening ceremony here this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, give it up here to Mr. Lonnie Crider, as he'll get us rolling here this evening.
Are you ready? I'm ready. Start those engines and let's go racing. Let's have a great time tonight.
Alrighty, shout out there to Lonnie. You heard him. Let's start those engines and let's go to battle here this evening. 167 laps of racing action here for each and every one of these drivers. So that is a That's a good amount of time, man. That's a lot of laps. It's a good distance out there on the racetrack. It's a lot of time that you can, move forward, fall backwards. You get a lot of time to try to make some moves out there on the speedway. And here tonight, we're going to have 2 stage breaks at the completion of lap number 40 and the completion of lap number 80. And for all these drivers, you get 1 quick repair and you get 5 tires behind pit wall. So you get a fresh set to start this feature event with, which is honestly good news to a lot of these drivers. But still only having 5 sets of tires back there behind pit wall is going to make things very difficult, going to make things very tough here, because you got to be kind of smart with the tires. You don't want to burn them up too quick. This is a racetrack that can really tear through tires here, and with these drivers, we can see a lot of good green flag runs out there on the racetrack, and seeing those green flag runs could potentially put you into a difficult position. So you got to be very, very smart, not only for the stages to try to earn stage points, but also just trying to have some tires there towards the end to try to put yourself into a position for a good finish. As we'll get them all stacked up and ready to rock and roll here, we do see my boy Robert Wolf in the chat says, coming in showing the love. I do believe that Rob Beaver says, go time, baby, go time, he says. Mr. Wolf, though, as well, coming in not only with a follow on Facebook, but also hitting that sub button over there on YouTube. I appreciate that, Robert, coming in, become a part of the Peacemaker family there, not only on YouTube, but also over on Facebook as well. That we may start doing more streams over there as well onto Facebook and maybe Twitch as well again, and maybe even Kick as well, but probably not doing iRacing broadcasts. We'll probably save those just here for the YouTube stream. As here we go, quickly seeing that green flag fly as we end all the anticipation with our feature presentation. As Ryan Campbell sees that green flag fly in quickly for the ally number 39. Gets a great launch and will lead us down the back straightaway. Sean Merriman and Josh Crider will look to hunt him down as Danny White, who started in about the 4th position, rolls there in 4th with Abram Ghostin. Hopefully I'm getting that right. Abram Ghostin in the number 22 machine out there on the speedway. You see Jack Fletcher working to his outside. Here comes Grant Wesley and Jordan Crider. Mark Rotingen there in 9th, and Brian Underwood rounding out our top 10 here in the early portion of this race. But you see these guys 2, 3, 4 wide back here. Everyone's slicing and dicing, trying to find their way up towards the front of the field, trying to take some big runs and work their way towards the front of the pack here. See Jonathan Lardo. Scott Lee's right there in that Rogue Energy number 45 ride. Here comes Farrell Robbins, Kevin Calkins, Nathan Brookover, Shaw Wilder, last week's runner-up in the 99 ride, mirrored back there in about the 18th position. Jeremy Jeffries in the Monster Energy number 1 rolls there in 19th with Dustin Sleitler in that Van Dorn number 15 there in 20th. Brad Neer, Jonathan Gaston's last week's 3rd place finisher here in the Gaston Graphics number 72 ride, rolling there in that 22nd position. There's Robert Wolf in that beautiful Gorilla Garage Doors number 13 ride in that 23rd position. Derek Bates back in 24th, and unfortunately last week, we saw Wesley Burke out here, had such a good run, such a good drive here. Looks like he has missed not only the qualifying, but the start of this feature event as well. And for a very, very fast hot rod in that 09 machine, unfortunately, not out there on the speedway and early on. He's already fallen to about 3 laps, about to be 4 laps down. Is out in front. It's Sean Merriman who takes the race lead. Unfortunately for Ryan Campbell, he slid all the way back now into that 7th position, but in the grand scheme of things, for a lot of these drivers, you're going to see some big movers early on. A lot of drivers really putting that pedal to the metal and working their way up through the field here. And a lot of these other cats you may see slide back or just kind of hold pace and hold serve on where they are out there on the speedway. But for a lot of these guys, they're already thinking, even though we're only about to be 5 laps into this race, man, we need to start saving tires. We need to worry about them. We need to make sure we got them, and we want to have them later in the run. So they're going to be taking it a little bit easy, staying breezy here. They may give up some spots, and in turn, they may get all those positions back later in this run. And that is exactly what they are hoping for when it comes to that 39 ride of Ryan Campbell. He's down 7 positions. He saw the speed out of that car, qualifying in that pole position. You have to imagine that maybe he's just kind of rolling out of the throttle a little sooner, maybe, you know, using a little bit more of the brakes and trying to just save a little tire out there. I don't know what kind of strategy or what he may have to do to figure that out or to give himself those better tires, but obviously early on, that may be the call out of the 39 ride. It's just save, save, save. Wait till, you know, maybe you get to that halfway marker. The drivers that are running in front of them, they may start to slow down. They burn their equipment up a little bit sooner than this 39 ride. They may start to fall back to them. And as we get towards the end of the first stage, we may see them start to really struggle in this 39 ride, really start to move back forwards, and who knows, he could potentially work his way right back to the front of the field and still win this stage here in this feature event. As he does have Jordan Crider working down to his inside, as Crider's taking a peek there at him, as we see some movement right there towards his back bumper, as here comes Jonathan Edelardo in that number 3 ride. So the Clemson Tigers machine jumps up into the 9th position. Brandon Holder trying to work his way through the field, as here comes Mark Rotingen, Farrell Robbins, that 9 ride of Melvin Brengbrewer right there in 14th. They've been duking out door to door here for the last few laps, but out in front, we do get a battle for the race lead. Here comes Josh Crider. Crider's looking for the top spot. He wants this race lead, and he's looking to take it away from Sean Merriman here on lap number 8 of this feature event. Can he jump up there and take it away from him? And it's my boy Martin in the chat says, good afternoon, man. What track are we at? Brother, we are at the always amazing, always beautiful Homestead-Miami Speedway here this evening for what is going to be a great show and a great race. We've already seen it, man. We've ran 9 laps, and you've seen the passing, the strategy. A little bit of contact is back there deeper in the field. It's Nathan Brookover down in at corner number 2. Ends up getting a piece of the outside fence. Unfortunately, it looks like some pretty solid right front damage here for the Fireball number 7 ride. You got to hope that you don't get too much damage or a tire puncture or anything that could potentially take you down pit road off sequence and off schedule to everybody else as he scrapes the wall again. He's got to get really, really careful with that as he falls back into that 24th position. Not a fun spot to be if you're that 7 riders. Now you're going to be back here at the rear of the field. You're off the pace. You got to build that momentum back up. You got to start rolling out there on the racetrack again. And unfortunately, you're mirrored so far back that now you just got to kind of hope that you stay on the lead lap. You keep on rolling. You don't run into any more catastrophic issues. And hopefully you can work yourself, you know, down pit road during that first stage break, get that damage repaired, and get back into the battle here in stage number 2. But the battle out in front, man, it is just starting to heat up. As you see last week's winner, Jack Fletcher, right there in that battle. But here comes that beautiful number 6 machine of Brian Underwood. Underwood rolling the outside groove. He's got the power down, and he is there. He is looking to make some moves as he'll push the 5 with Josh Crider out in front. So leading lap number 12 was that Rubbered Up Productions, Rubbered Up Motorsports, Lonnie Crider, number 5 ride of Josh Crider out there on the speedway. Now for the 6 of Brian Underwood, you had that big run, you had that drive. Do you stay glued to the back bumper of this 5 ride? Do you try to save maybe a little bit more tire throughout this run? Or do you want to jump out in front? Do you want to take this race lead and hope that maybe you can start to pull away from some of these guys? What will the strategy call be for this 6 ride? Because you can see the speed that he is carrying, man. He's got that outside lane hooked up, and he is zooming up there. Now he takes a look down to the inside, looking for a run. Down and out of corner number 2. Trying to get to that left rear quarter panel of Crider, but couldn't quite get there. Great run out of corner number 2 for Josh Crider here this evening, and he'll keep himself out in front. Here comes Fletcher right there in 3rd. Danny White's worked his way back up here as the 64 ride. The SimUQ machine works his way around Sean Merriman. Merriman going to battle back, though, that outside momentum. Man, you can just see the drive that these guys get, and that is really going to make a difference here and really build to the strategy for a lot of these drivers on what you want to do, where you want to be, and how you want to run this race. Is, oh, look out, down and out at corner number 2. Underwood slow here. I don't know if he made any contact or got a little loose down low, but for the 6th ride, loses a ton of momentum down the back straightaway, and unfortunately slides back now into about that 5th position. He'll look to try to build it all back up down through 3 and 4 and back down across the line. Looks like he's going to hold serve right there to the outside of Danny White for that 4th and 5th position, but we'll see if he can kind of get this thing wound back up and try to work his way back up towards that race lead, as maybe that could kill a lot of his momentum, and now back into that dirty air, maybe using up a little bit too much tire right there, may have built up a little too much heat, may have to sit back, try to let the tires kind of cool off a little bit, just running smooth and easy out there on the racetrack, and then try to come back after him here in a lap or two as you see that run again down into corner number 4. Man, it seems like he's just carrying so much speed here down these straightaways that anything that he may give up through the entry of these corners, he is getting back almost tenfold down the straightaways, and it may be that way all night long. I talked to Josh Crider prior to this feature event and prior to the race here tonight in the 5 ride. He told me, you know, he didn't get a whole lot of practice. He didn't feel super confident about being able to potentially win this race, but for the 5 machine, man, he's looking absolutely stout here this evening, as we do see a couple drivers head down pit road here on lap number 17 this afternoon. Here comes the Metallica number 18, Sean Merriman. Looks like he's going to head down pit side. We did see Jonathan Ilardo also down pit road in that Clemson number 3 ride. Now for Jonathan Ilardo, he has gone a lap down here as he was mirrored a little deeper in the field. He's lost a lap. He'll fall in behind the rest of the pack here for Sean Merriman. It'll be interesting to see if he can stay on the lead lap. I don't think he will be able to, but it's going to be close as Crider back down across the line. Going to lead another lap and down through corner number 1 and out at corner number 2. We'll have to wait and see how much speed and momentum he can carry. Here comes the 18 ride down the back straightaway. So it looks like he'll come out of the pits just in front of our race leaders. He just does not have that momentum, and you see Crider reel up to him in a quick hurry. Now the big question is going to be, did Sean Merriman potentially put fresh tires on here, and putting these tires on so early is such a bold strategy, man. I don't know if you want to put a fresh set on this quickly. You may run out of tires in a quick hurry, so we'll have to wait and see if Sean Merriman can keep himself on the lead lap here. It seems like he's holding serve pretty decently. We saw him out in front leading laps. Now he's just trying to battle and fight to keep himself on the lead lap in this hunt, and unfortunately, if he does lose a lap here, that will move him into lucky dog position, which is a good thing, but for Jonathan Ilardo, it'll take him out of that free pass spot if we get a caution flag, or if we don't see this, you know, pit cycle go all the way through. If we start to see more and more drivers like we do see Brandon Holder. Here comes Holder down pit road. Looks like Kevin Calkins also going to come down pit side in that Blue Bulls number 11 ride. So we get another couple drivers to head down pit road here midway through this first stage of the day. But this is early, chat. Let's take a look if we can see here on Brandon Holder. Does he get tires? It doesn't quite look like he did. It's a fairly quick pit stop. See if anyone else comes down pit side. If anyone else takes a gamble here or a risk to potentially put new tires on this early in the race. We do see Kevin Calkins finally get down and out of the pits here, but it looks like lap 21 doesn't gonna have anybody come down pit side. And for Merriman, he is kind of pulling away here from our race leader, but the big question is going to be, obviously now he's going to roll around these guys. So lucky break, he'll stay potentially, you know, not only on the lead lap, but he could also potentially be in a good position here later on if things do cycle through, and it looks like they may, because here comes Josh Crider. Here comes Grant Wesley in the 88 ride, also down pit side. Brian Underwood in the 6 hits pit road, and so doesn't last week's second place finisher on that high velocity racing number 99 ride. So we get about 4 more drivers here on lap number 22 that head down, hit pit side, and it looks like for at least these 2, no tires. Looks like fuel only. So obviously looks like maybe 20 laps, 22, 23. We'll have to wait and see how much farther some of these other drivers push the limits. We do see Ryan Campbell also down pit side here. So he's going to head down pit road, but he came down in a little bit of a weird angle here. Okay, so it looks like he ends up making a mistake down pit side. See him get down here, get onto the brakes. Unfortunately, comes in, ends up making some pretty solid contact with that left front into the inside pit wall. And unfortunately for that 39 ride, that may give him a little extra damage here. I'm not sure if he's going to have time to fix that here, especially during green flag pit stops, but he'll get down to his first pit stall, and it looks like he is throwing tires on to the 39 ride. So they jack up the right side. They're going to jack up the left side, and he's going to roll back out here with a fresh set of tires. Alrighty, that's going to definitely mix things up. Now we do see Jack Fletcher. He'll hit his pit stall. The crew is going to go to work, but they're just putting fuel into the 14. So obviously a lot of strategy already going in for a lot of these drivers. Here's that Gorilla garage door number 13 of Robert Wolf. He's down there. He gets fuel. And he gets set back loose out there onto the racetrack. Here comes the 9 rider, Melvin Brengerer. And as all that's happening here, it is this beautiful Ford Mustang, that SimUQ machine of Mr. Danny White in the 64, who seems to race lead. Now, right in front of him is that number 5 rider, Josh Crider. So Crider stays on the lead lap. So doesn't Jack Fletcher and Sean Merriman. But you can take a look here. Merriman, maybe with those fresher tires for a little bit while longer, looks like he's going to leapfrog a lot of these guys. Jump back out in front. Fletcher will jump into second, and there's about a second gap back to that 5 rider, Josh Crider. And then we see Grant Wesley, Brandon Holder, who was down pit road quite a bit earlier. He's there in what is now the 17th position, but we'll have to wait and see kind of where he lines up as things kind of cycle on through. But for the 64, and Danny White still rolling here, as Martin says, I probably wouldn't. I'd just wait until lap 40 or 50. Well, it all depends, brother, because these drivers, they don't always have 100% fuel capacity. For a lot of these cars and a lot of these races, they have different fuel capacities in these tanks. So I think here tonight, it may only be 70% fuel capacity. So whatever you may see in real life racing or anything else, it's not going to be completely accurate. You got to virtually think of that fuel tank starting with 70% fuel capacity here in these race cars. So even for some of them, to stretch it as far as they have is quite miraculous, and a lot farther than I think a lot of them probably were expecting, or some of them were expecting them to go that far. But we do see Danny White. Here comes Jordan Crider. Here comes Jeremy Jeffries, also down pit side in that Monster Energy number 1 machine. We'll have to see if any of these guys will risk it for the brisket, maybe try to throw some tires on here. Gonna gamble here a little bit. I feel like it's too far away from the stage, though. I don't feel like a winning strategy call would be to put tires on now. Now, if you want stage points, if you want to try to get those into your back pocket, then maybe you throw them on. But you do see the 33 and the 64 down pit side able to make their stop. They're going to roll back out there. As now, here we go. We're going to see a lot more come down pit road. Here comes Abram Ghostin. Ghostin comes down pit side. Here comes Mark Rotingen. Here comes Dustin Sleitler, Scott Lee, Derek Bates, all going to head down pit side. And it looks like only one driver left the pit here throughout this pit cycle, and it's last week's third place finisher, the 72 of Jonathan Gaston. Staying out here quite a bit longer than some of these other drivers. We saw some down pit side on lap 20, 22, up until the last couple laps. We've seen a few more start to really fly in here. And for Gaston, he's going to go at least another lap. So he's already completed 30 laps. He's able to lead some here. He's out in front. He's feeling A-okay. A big caution flag would really work into his favor. But right now we stay clean and green. And I feel, within a lap or two, we're going to have to probably see the 72 rider Gaston come down pit road. I don't see a scenario where he can make it all the way. And now here we go. Here he comes down pit side. I was going to say there's no way these guys would have made that pit stop. If they could have made it 40 laps, maybe even, 38, and they could have saved a couple laps out there on the racetrack, then I think all of them would have continued to run and try to make it to the end of the stage. I don't think we would have saw anyone come down pit road early, because you have that risk of, you just ran 11 laps. You could have seen a caution flag. You could have been a lap down. You could have been trapped a lap down out there on the racetrack and put into a really bad situation. So you had to hope that it would stay clean and green, that everyone would keep their rides pointing in the right direction, and things would cycle back through. And that's exactly what they've done, as Sean Merriman now reconsumes the race lead. So the Dr. Pepper Cherry Metallica, number 18 of Sean Merriman, now out in front, has this race lead, and we see the 31, that beautiful easy go singular Chevrolet of Mr. Brandon Holder, jumping up into position number 2 here. So Holder has leapfrogged quite a few of these drivers by pitting as early as he did. So didn't Sean Merriman. They were down pit road. For Merriman was on lap 17. For Brandon Holder back on lap number 20. And now they roll 1 and 2 out there on the speedway. Jack Fletcher scored back in position number 3, has that number 5 ride of Josh Crider right there on his back bumper. Crider's looking to try to work his way back up inside the top 3, knowing that, man, some big stage points could be on the line for him again here tonight. And for, these two, they are teammates. They are part of the Rubbered Up Motorsports team. So, last week it looked like maybe, that 14 ride of Fletcher was going to potentially join the Drunken Bastards, and it looks like they have kind of split sides here, and some have stayed there with the Drunken Bastards. Some have come here to the Rubbered Up Motorsports, and for Grant Wesley, Jack Fletcher, Jeremy Jeffries, and Jordan Crider, they join Josh Crider here in the Rubbered Up Motorsports team, man. Historic team, a couple championships, man. They've been fast season after season after season, and they're hoping for another good one here this season. And with Jack Fletcher being a part of this team, they already have 1 win under their belt. And you take a look here in race number 2 of this season, you got Josh Crider and Fletcher right up inside the top 5. You take a look at Grant Wesley's back there battling for that 6th position. So they got some fast cats in the stable here this season, and they're going to look to continue that. Even Jordan Crider up inside the top 10, having a great run back in 9th. Their farthest running driver right now is Jeremy Jeffries, scored back in about the 23rd position. Unfortunately for the number 1 ride, I'm not sure if he got a pit road penalty or what may have happened here. Nonetheless, for the number 1, he has been down pit road maybe a couple extra times here, and he's now fallen 2 laps down, maybe 3 laps down now out on the racetrack. Derek Bates also had gotten a penalty, had to come back down pit road and serve a pit road penalty here in that Crown Royal machine, and he finds himself now, 4 or 5 laps down as well. So it's going to be a bit of a longer night and a tougher night for those guys. So we do see a battle for the race lead here. Only a few more laps away from seeing stage number 1 come to a close here this evening. As Martin says, the number 5 car looks cool in the Dr. Pepper Cherry. Yeah, I mean, Merriman's ride always looks really good. All these cars, man, look so fresh out there. And you gotta love that beautiful 5 ride, man. The SpongeBob Rubbered Up Productions, our Season 2 champion here in the Premium Stock Car Racing League. That's a beautiful paint scheme, man. He's got the Lonnie Crider crosses on the side of it, man. Looking beautiful out there. Beautiful paint scheme by Gaston's Graphics, man. If you guys are looking for paint schemes or anything else, make sure you guys get a hold of the 72 ride. Mr. Jonathan Gaston, he tends to do just an incredible job as we watch him get up and tag that outside fence at a corner number 2. He does an incredible job painting so many of the race cars here, not only in this series, but so many other series, whether it's dirt or asphalt. Man, he can work some magic and continues to produce just absolutely amazing paint schemes here week after week after week. See some tight battling back here just around our top 10 right now. And unfortunately for Grant Wesley, looks like he's going to fall outside the top 10 as Danny White, Abram Ghostin get around him here, and Jonathan El Rado jumps up into position number 9. Ghostin jumps into that 10th spot here on the speedway, but out in front, it's all Brandon Holder. Brian Underwood now up and into 2nd here. Sean Merriman's back in 3rd. Josh Crider in position number 4 and looking for more here in that Rubbered Up Productions number 5 ride. Jack Fletcher, his teammate, back behind him in that 5th position. Hoping to hold off this 72 of Jonathan Gaston, the 9 of Melvin Brengru, as this is our final lap here in stage number 1. So for the 31 of Brandon Holder, had a bit of a rough go last week at Daytona, but looking to make up for it and looking to try to put himself right back into the battle and into the mix here for some race wins. And obviously here tonight, he's going to look pretty good for the first 40 laps as Brandon Holder picks up the first stage win of the evening. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, give it up here for Brandon Holder. Holder picks up the first stage win of the evening. We'll see if we can try to get him up here into the booth. Let's see if we can jump into one of these channels and get him in here real quick. All right, ladies and gentlemen, give it up here for Mr. Holder as he comes home with the stage win. Hey, Brandon, it's Aaron up here in the Peacemaker Broadcasting booth. To get a copy?
Yeah, I got you, buddy.
Brandon, man, great run, great race so far for you. Obviously, you've sliced and diced your way through the field up 15 positions here in the first stage of the day, and you find yourself winning our first stage here at Homestead-Miami Speedway, man. Take us back through it, and you know, what's kind of going through your mind right now? How's the car working? How's it looking out there on the speedway?
Yeah, it's working pretty good. I took 4 there. I think a lot of people didn't take tires. I'm not going to take tires here. So I had a pretty good advantage. But the car felt good.
Yeah, car looks good. Car obviously has been running really, really good here and now. Obviously, things are going to kind of, you know, flip and reverse a little bit here with, you know, you not taking tires here at, you know, the midway portion of basically this stage. Now, do you feel a lot of these other drivers may take those tires, trying to earn those extra stage points here in this second stage? Or do you think some of them will try to maybe save this set or another set potentially for later in this race?
I think the people that didn't take tires will take tires. I think we'll just flip-flop.
Yeah, absolutely. Flip-flopping out there, but man, it works out perfectly for you as you park yourself up here as our first stage winner here this evening. Great run, great drive so far, man. We can't wait to see you back out there and back under green flag conditions. Good luck, have some fun, and hopefully we'll get you back up here into the broadcast booth in just a little bit.
Thank you, sir.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, give it up there for Mr. Holder, our stage 1 winner, and you saw him right there, man. Quick pit stop. No tires going on to that number 31. Flipping the stage. You see a few more of these guys coming out real quick. Here comes Underwood. Here comes Sean Merriman. Gaston jumps out there. Crider jumps out. He loses a spot, but still inside the top 5 here for the restart. And this is going to get real fun because now we're going to have a few drivers probably towards the front of the field that may be on slightly older tires, that may be a little bit more used and abused here throughout that run. So, you know, especially for some of them, we saw Holder come down pit road fairly early in that stage, right at that midway marker. So he's got about 20 laps on that set of tires. And, you know, now he's got 20 lap older tires compared to brand new tires. Obviously, we saw the advantage that he was able to gain throughout that stage, and it's going to be kind of roles reversed here as this one kind of gets going. So for a lot of these drivers, they're going to be on the throttle. They're going to be moving quick. They're going to be trying to get around him and the rest of these other cats that are on older tires here as quickly as they can and hope that they can use it to their advantage here at the start of stage number 2. And for some of them, could work out perfectly here. It could play into their hand for maybe trying to steal away some good stage points after, you know, our next 40 laps of racing action. Technically, it'd be a little less than that as we've completed now 43. So as we get going here again, and that starts to bring into the question mark here, we didn't really see a lot of saving out there in that first stage, and we did see a few of these guys make it to lap 31 before coming down pit road. So if that's the max that you can kind of run, with Gaston kind of hanging with them, not really rolling out of the throttle, if you can start to save some tire, or not some tire, but save some fuel throughout this run, can you make it to lap number 80? That could be the big question mark here, I think, for a lot of these drivers. We get ready to go back to green flag racing. It won't be a 40-lap run like we saw in stage number 1. It's technically going to be restarting here, completing lap number 44, so it's going to be 36 laps. Can you potentially save that 5 or 6 laps of fuel throughout this run, make it to the end of the stage, and save yourself a green flag pit stop, and potentially put yourself in line to not only win a stage or to get a good, good amount of stage points, but also try to maybe save a set of tires here again in this second stage as well. As here we go back to green flag racing as Holder gets a great launch, great restart. He will stay in position number 2 as the 18 rider Sean Merriman there in second. Brian Underwood back in third, but here comes Merriman looking to quickly go after that 31 Ryan, looking to try to jump back out in front. Looks like the 18 has some really good short run speed here. Now on the longer run, we saw it there in that first stage. I don't know if it was just trying to save a little fuel or if it was trying to save a little bit of tire, but we saw the 18 kind of slide back in a quick hurry, probably after about 9-10 laps, started to really fall back there. So you gotta wonder if maybe the 18 ride maybe has a little something for later on. But we do see a couple drivers slow here down at corner number 2. Farrell Robbins is around, pointed up into the corner 2 fence right here, and we will see our second caution flag of this race, our first yellow flag for incident here this evening, as Farrell Robbins gonna get collected in it, but it looks like it starts in front of him. That is the 9 rider Melvin Brenger there, 3 wide down into corner number 1. Oh, in contact there between him and Danny White. Now I'm not sure if White comes up or if the 9 ride comes down a little bit. That's the risk you always take when you're 2-3 wide out there on the speedway. And unfortunately, it looks like Danny's gonna get a good run, and it does look like the 64. I'm not sure if it looks like a little bit of a wiggle there from him. And right as he, as soon as he lets out of the front, you see the flames coming out of the exhaust pipe of that 64 Ryan. He knows he's loose. He knows he's washing up. Unfortunately, can't get checked up quick enough or get the car kind of rolling back down the track. Tags that left rear quarter panel of the 9 Ryan. Not a lot of contact, but that's all it takes. And for Danny White, he's trying to squeeze through, or not Danny White, Farrell Robbins. Yeah, man, the Old Dogs Racing team, man, they've had some good runs. They've had some tough breaks here. Danny and Farrell last week in Daytona had some bad luck. Obviously, their teammate Gaston ended up on the podium, but here in this one, Farrell's just trying to avoid the 9 ride after the contact with his teammate, and then he gets a shot right there from Jeffries, and unfortunately kind of hooks his left rear quarter panel, spins him down the racetrack. He's trying to catch it through the grass, ends up bouncing back off the 9 ride, up the track, and oh man, couple drivers here just know where to go, and all of a sudden you got a car parked on your nose. And let's see if we can jump right on board here with one of them. This is the 15 ride of Dustin Sleitler. So Sleitler sees the 9 ride, sees the 76. He's thinking, oh, I'm through it. I'll get back on the throttle. Then all of a sudden, here comes the 76 right back onto his nose. And man, Ryan is well in there, nowhere to go. Ryan Campbell, man, this is a tough break for Ryan Campbell, our pole sitter here this evening, as he's trying to work his way through that. He's checked up quite a bit, but the 76 back up the track and right across the 15's nose, right into the 39. Heavy damage there for the 39. Then obviously, as Farrell bounces off the wall, bounces off the 39 right again, shoots him around. Solid damage here for that Ally number 39 machine, and unfortunately quite a few tore up race cars out there on the speedway here, and unfortunately cautions breed cautions, and we do see that 76, the dude wipes right. That may be a dude wipe moment right there for Mr. Robbins here this evening, as he's now going to look to try to get this car repaired. Now, it's super early still in this race. We're only 48 laps in to this feature event. So using up your quick repair this early in this feature event may put you into a really difficult position. It may put you into a spot you don't want to be in. And now, oh, look out! What in the world just happened here? Something just absolutely broke on the 76 ride of Farrell Robbins. Oh my gosh. What in the heck just transpired here for the 76 ride? You see the damage. This car is tore up. That was some heavy hits. But it's rolling nicely, and he sends it back into the corner, and it just... Oh, man, I don't know if something in the rear end kind of snapped out on him. You see that right rear. He's kind of sliding sideways right here. If you take a look at the right-hand side of the race car, right about here, you see how the right rear just kind of looks like it's off a little bit, like the toe link or something may have snapped in that race car, but just did not show signs of it until he virtually put some load onto the car back down into corner number 3, and it just sends him up the racetrack, man. Heavy contact into that outside fence. And for Farrell Robbins, man, I think he's got to use that quick repair now. And there it is, quick repaired on that Dude Wipes XL ride. But unfortunately did have to make an additional trip down pit road. And now he's going to be at a huge risk here of potentially still going to lap down, as we are back to green flag racing. And he was just rolling back out onto the racetrack, as here we go once again. You see him already spread out 2, 3, 4 wide down the back straightaway. You're going to see him really spread out here as drivers trying to take big runs and trying to work their way up to the front of the field and into the fun. And one of those being this high velocity racing 99 rider, Sean Wilder. Where did Wilder come from? My gosh, Wilder, last week's second place finisher, the runner-up there last Saturday night in Daytona. Here he is right back into the thick of things as he jumps up into that 3rd position, but rolling the outside lane is that 5 rider, Josh Crider. Josh Crider is going to jump back into 3rd here as Underwood jumps out in front on that restart, able to work his way around the 31 of Brandon Holder. So Underwood's out in front, and now if you are that 76 of Farrell Robbins, get the car fixed up. You're still on the lead lap, but you are hoping that you can try to somehow or another battle your way back into this one, as we do see the one ride of Jeremy Jeffries. I believe Jeremy did get the lucky dog there during that caution flag. Now he is still 2 laps down out on the racetrack. Still behind here, hoping to try to see maybe another yellow flag or 2, maybe get himself back into the battle, hoping that Farrell does not lose a lap. If Robbins does go a lap down, Farrell Robbins would move into that lucky dog position. It would knock Jeremy Jeffries out of that lucky dog spot here. And for Derek Bates, Bates is still about 4 or 5 laps down here himself in that number 2 ride. And we do see the 09, which I think this week is now the 04 ride in the Sim Racing Pride, the 04 machine. It's Wesley Burke. Burke in that 04 machine. He's joined us here this afternoon. Now, unfortunately, he was about 12 laps late, so unfortunately he's about 12 laps down, but great to see Wesley still be able to jump out here, have some fun, have some good racing, and maybe just trying to, get a little extra, seat time in here, learn a little something on these race cars or other drivers and their their abilities or their tendencies out there on the racetrack, and maybe just trying to learn something here for Homestead if we head back here again in the future, that he can kind of go into his his notebook and kind of figure out maybe a setup or something that he may be able to use to help him out here a little bit later on in the season at a like style racetrack like Homestead, or potentially if we come back here in the future. But for Underwood, he's out in front, continuing to lead the way as he clicks off lap number 54 here this evening. Now, that caution flag opened up the ability here not only for drivers to come back down pit road. We talked there before we went back to green flag racing how the fuel could be really tight here for a lot of these drivers. There could be some that save, they try to get to the end here of this stage without making another green flag pit stop. That caution flag brought that opportunity a whole lot more into the picture frame here. For Underwood, Crider, Brandon Holder, they stayed out on the racetrack. We look back at Jordan Crider, he also stayed out. We take a look back at Brad Neer, and I do believe Sean Wilder. That's why we saw that 99 right up there. They stayed out. They did not come back down pit road there on lap number 47. But for a lot of these other drivers, they did come back down pit side, as now we see the 15. Oh, man. Heartbreaker here for Dustin Seitler. That contact, that damage, finally looks like he's going to lose that front bumper here off that Van Dorn number 15 machine. And unfortunately, I don't know if front bumper has a whole lot less draft that he's going to be able to work with here in this race. He's going to have to hope that we get another caution flag that he's not a part of here, and it's another opportunity to come down pit road. Obviously, we'll get the stage break here, but that is a ways away from having an opportunity to come back down pit side. He wants to see a quick one, see if the crew can get that bumper back on. Now, luckily enough, in iRacing, that does not bring out a debris caution. Obviously, if that was real-life racing, we would see a debris caution out there on the racetrack, but not here this evening. And for Brian Underwood, Underwood's got the top spot. He's out in front. He's feeling A-okay. And there is the caution flag that a bunch of these drivers were hoping to see. And some of them obviously definitely were not. As we are going to take a look here, looks like Scott Lee tied up in this one. Heavy damage for the Rogue Energy, number 45. Scott Lee absolutely tore up here. Looks like some heavy damage as well for the 24 ride. The Exalta machine of Mark Rotingen. Looks like he ends up with a ton of damage as well. Let's take a look back and see what happens. I do believe Scott Lee is going to be a little farther in front of him, and it's on corner exit. Does he get a little love nudge here from that one ride? As unfortunately, looks like he may get a shot in the shorts here. I do believe that is the number 1 of Jeremy Jeffries, a driver that was in line for the lucky dog that was a couple laps down here. I'm not sure on corner exit here. Let's see if we get another good angle. It looks like he gets a good run. I'm not sure if the 45 gets a little bit loose right there, or I'm not sure what happens. Just looks like he comes out of the corner a little bit more limp than the one ride, and unfortunately, just going to make some contact there with that right rear. See a little bit of loose out of the 45. I think he's already a little loose. He's trying to save it. Obviously, kind of rolls into the throw a little bit, loses a bit of speed momentum. The one ride clips him right there, shoots him up the racetrack, hard contact up into the outside fence, and as he does, it just kind of spins him hard into it. And unfortunately, it looks like another driver gets a big piece of that as well. Let's get another angle at this one because it looked like potentially that 16 and near also getting tangled up in this, also getting a bit of this contact. Let's take another look at it. Here we go. So the 45, I think right there gets a little bit loose. The one makes contact with him up into the fence. And heavy hits right there. Luckily enough, we didn't see more drivers get collected and tore up in it. But unfortunately for Scott Lee, that's going to be a lot of damage to get repaired down pit side. And for that 24 ride as well, Mark Rotingen, he's really going to have to use his quick repair up. This is a big hit. Already had a little bit of left rear damage here in the Exalta ride. And all of a sudden, bam, right there. 45 parked into your lap. Heavy damage. That's a tough break there. And see a couple big hits right there for a couple very fast drivers out there. You see the 24 ride has used that quick repair. Scott Lee is still down pit side. Does not look like he's used that quick repair as of yet. So for the Rogue Energy number 45, he's either waiting for the tow call to finish or he's waiting for the crew to kind of get some more work done to this 45 ride. As of right now, he is still on the lead lap, but he's going to have a lot of work to do, and unfortunately looks like Derek Bates again down pit road, this time under the caution. Bates is going to get a black flag speeding down pit side or an unsafe pit road entry for the number 2 ride, the Crown Royal Machine. That's a couple times he's made mistakes down pit road early on in this feature event, and unfortunately that's going to hurt him here as he was already a few laps down, and he's not going to get any of that back as we do see Slightler's back down pit side. Mark Rotingen comes back down there. We still see Scott Lee down pit road. They're still pretty tore up. The crew is trying to go to work and get it repaired here, and unfortunately for the 45, he will fall at least a lap down here, so we'll see if he can get back out into the action. As we did see, obviously pretty much a lot of these drivers come down pit road here from about 7th on back or so. We saw him come down pit side 7th or 8th. Everyone kind of just came down pit road there on lap number 59, so that may be a lot of fresh tires that came down pit side, made those fresh tire changes, or maybe just trying to get that extra bit of fuel here, making sure that they're good to go to the end of this stage, that they don't have to worry about fuel. I think for a lot of them, fuel was kind of up in the air. Now they can run a little bit harder. They know they're good. If you look at Fletcher and Gaston, they were down pit side on lap 47, lap 48, even for Grant Wesley. I think those drivers are probably good now on fuel as well, especially with these extra few caution laps. As Eastwood says, Jeremy Jeffries, 110 laps to go, bud. 110 laps to go. Yeah, still lots of racing, still lots of laps here this evening. to mount a challenge, to mount a comeback here. I'm sure we may still see a few more yellow flags here this evening. They're probably going to be, I don't know. Sometimes we can see these guys make some really good green flag runs, especially in that final stage, in the final half of the race. So we'll see. We'll see. You may get blessed with a few yellows, a few lucky dogs, and try to work his way back into the action. As you do see, Jack Fletcher is our race leader here. He's trying to hold off that 64 at Danny White. Danny is trying to take it away from him, is down and across the line. Last week's winner in the Home Depot rigid number 14 machine. It's Jack Fletcher, who's back right out in front, and he's hoping to stay there once again. But the 64 rider, Danny White, he wants to lead some laps, and Sean Merriman wants to work his way back to the point. As you do see Gaston and Wesley battling here for position number 4 and 5. Farrell Robbins sits in 6, and here comes maybe a few of those drivers that were just down pit road that may have gotten some fresh tires onto their race car. The 5 rider, Josh Crider, working his way up and through the field here, and all of a sudden we see that Rubber Dot Productions number 5 machine jump up into position number 7 on the racetrack, and he's looking for more as he scrolls up there, scrapes the outside fence. Now here comes that 31 of Brandon Holder, the 3 machine of Jonathan Elardo, as well as the 6 of Brian Underwood, who rounds out our top 10. Elardo up on the outside lane, though. He's going to fall back into that 10th position, but looking for a big run down and out of corner number 4 is Jordan Crider, Sean Wilder, Ryan Campbell, our pole sitter, back there in 13th. We saw him get tore up and unfortunately had to get quite a bit of repairs done to this 39 Ryan. He uses quick repair up early in this race. He sits now into that 13th position. Brent Grewers back there in 14th. Abram Ghostin into position number 15 with Robert Wolf, Brad Neer, Kevin Calkins there in the 11, Ryan Mark Roten Jen back in 19th, and it's Nathan Brookover rounding out our top 20. Dustin Sleitler is there in 21st, and now still, unfortunately, 2 laps down. No lucky dogs during that last caution flag because Jeremy was tied up in that caution. There was no lucky dog handed out, and for Jeremy Jeffries, still sits 2 laps down, still in the free pass position. If we can get to the stage break or see another yellow, he could get himself back into the action here, but for right now, he sits back in 22nd. Scott Lee and all the Lee fans in the stands, unfortunately for that rogue number 45 ride, still parked down pit side, still some pretty solid damage here on that machine, and unfortunately now he finds himself about 7 laps down, and I think that's going to virtually take him out of competition of winning this race. But we'll see if he can get back out there, maybe salvage a little something out of it, as Derek Bates does roll around him here after making his black flag penalty pit stop here. Got the whole down pit road after caught speeding down pit road during that caution flag. He finally makes a stop. He's going to lose a couple more spots here. He scored back in 23rd, with Lee now back in 24th. For Wesley Burke, it's good news for him because for the 09 ride, he came into this, the 04. He's normally the 09. Last week it was the 09. Our overlay still says he's the 09, but the paint scheme says 04 now. He was, it still is about 12, 13 laps down out there on the racetrack for that Sim Racing Pride ride. Just got in here a little bit too late, but with Scott Lee parked down pit road, with Derek Bates running into issues, who knows what else may happen throughout this race. Maybe able to at least leapfrog a few of those guys, maybe work his way into a top 20 finish here this evening. As out in front, we see another battle for the race lead. This time, it is the iRacing Menards Ford Mustang of Grant Wesley, looking to try to take over the race lead here from Jack Fletcher. Fletcher, though, looking to hang on to it, as you do see Brandon Holder poking his nose right into the battle as their teammates here at the front of the field. That 14 and the 88 ride, they are teammates in the Rubber Dot Productions team. And you see their team leader not too far behind him here. That 5 rider, Josh Crider, trying to work himself back into the front and back into the battle, as we do see the 31 of Brandon Holder working his way through the traffic there a little bit quicker than some of these other guys. He's been able to kind of navigate through that lap traffic really, really nicely so far here this evening. And for our Stage 1 winner, he's in line to maybe earn some more really good stage points here in our second stage of this race as he rolls right now, battling door to door with that 64 ride across the line here with only 10 laps left to go in stage number 2. Our stage 1 winner sits in that second position, shoots down to the inside of Jack Fletcher, looking to see if he can clear that 14 ride. If he can, he may go for a bit of a slide job down and out of corner number 2, and he pulls the trigger on it. And for Fletcher, instead of going down to his inside and trying to cross him over, sticks to his back bumper right there, gives him a shove down the back straightaway. Now it's that 31 right out in front, but Fletcher's looking to try to mount another challenge back down to his inside. So isn't Danny White, as they're going to battle almost 3 wide for the race lead down across the line, completing 71 laps of this feature event. And it's tight racing here, and I think for Fletcher, he had to roll into the throttle right there to avoid running into that left rear quarter panel, potentially putting us under another caution flag here this evening, as that was very tight. That was almost the same incidence we saw with the 64 of Danny White in the 9 of Melvin Brengruer not too long ago. That sent the 9 right around, and luckily enough, he saw it, he realized what was happening, rolled out of it, and a lot better of that one as Holder will hold on to the top spot. We do see Josh Crider now up into second. Danny White trying to hold on to third as Fletcher's back into fourth. Ryan Campbell, our pole sitter, after getting that damage in the first stage, having to use that quick repair up, he's battled his way kind of back up through this traffic, and for that 39 ride, here he is storming his way inside our top 5 here in this one. So for Ryan Campbell, he's trying to work his way maybe to the point here, maybe trying to get some good stage points here after winning the pole position. I know he'd love to get some bonus points still into his back pocket here throughout this race, as you see the 5 of Josh Crider taking a peek down to the inside of the 31, looking for this race lead with only 7 laps left to go here in stage number 2. Grant Wesley, Sean Merriman back here in the 6th and 7th position. Farrell Robbins there in 8th with Jonathan Gaston and Brian Underwood rounding at our top 10. Jonathan Elardo there in 11th with Branger, Jordan Crider, Abram Ghostin back in 14th. Sean Wilder rounding at our top 15. Robert Wolf there in 16th with Mark Rotingen, Dustin Slightler, Kevin Calkins, and Brad near our top 20. Nathan Brookover, Jeremy Jeffries, who's still in that free pass position, scored back in 22nd. Wesley Burke there in 23rd, as we do see Derek Bates again down pit side, and Scott Lee still down there as well and off the racetrack. Both scored back in the 24th and 25th position. Unfortunately, I feel you could probably virtually count out our 23rd, 24th, 25th place driver, unless we see a complete abundance of caution flags. Even if we were to see so many yellow flags, I think a lot of these other drivers, if they go 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8 laps down, they're going to get the free passes before these guys. I think their beds are made. They're probably going to finish back here in the latter half of the field, unfortunately, here this evening, and not quite the runs that they were hoping for. But out in front, they're starting to run into some of that lap traffic. The 04, Wesley Burke, unfortunately, looks like something's a little off there with that 04 here during this run. He's fallen off the pace quite a bit, and we see our race leaders able to roll back up to him, and with only 4 laps left to go here in this stage, will some of that lap traffic maybe play a role here with our race leaders? Will that kind of mix things up? Will it kind of maybe block a line or a run that one of our race leaders are hoping to have, as the 31 rider, Brandon Holder, man, he's looking to go back-to-back here, trying to win both stages here in this feature event. But Josh Crider says, you know, I got other plans for that. He wants the stage win. He's trying to reel him back in, trying to catch up to the back bumper here of that beautiful singular Chevrolet here this evening, as Brandon Holder down across the line, only 3 laps left to go here in stage number 2 this afternoon. Josh Crider rolls there in second with Ryan Campbell back in third. Danny White sits in fourth, and then we see Sean Merriman, Farrell Robbins, Jonathan Gaston's right there as well, trying to work this car up towards the front now for that Bourbon Hills Barbecue number 72 ride that we normally see on this race car. Looks like he's got maybe a new team, a new name, something here. He's got the Apachean Outlaw number 72 ride here this evening. Okay, so the Apachean Outlaw number 72 out there on the racetrack, and man, it's looking pretty fresh. I like the outlaw feel to that 72 ride as he continues to roll out there on the speedway. Scored in the fifth position now as he works himself around that 64 of Danny White. Danny unfortunately starting to slide back here a little bit, has his teammate Farrell Robbins work down to his inside as Martin says, I'm going for the SpongeBob car. He's cheering on Mr. Crider here this evening. Unfortunately for Crider, up on the high side, looks like he has lost at least second now to Ryan Campbell, and it looks like maybe will lose third to Sean Merriman as they work themselves around it. But for Brandon Holder, 1 lap left to go here, throws a little bit of a block there on Ryan Campbell. Big shot, big run down into corner number 3. They'll take him back down and out of corner number 4 and across the line. Going back to back here this evening, it is Brandon Holder who will win and sweep our stages here this evening in our second race of the season with the Premium Stock Car Racing League. So for Brandon Holder, wins stage 1, wins stage number 2. 31, Ryan, looks like he's got something here this evening to say about who's going to win this race. We'll have to see if the 31, Ryan, can, make some magic here and try to sweep this feature event. Ryan Campbell, our pole sitter, unfortunately had a bit of a rough go there later on in that first stage for the 39. Ended up with some good damage, went back deeper in the field and used that quick repair up, but he's battled his way up here for a solid second place run here in stage number 2. Sean Merriman back there in third with Crider in fourth. Jonathan Gaston and Danny White rounding out our top 6. Farrell Robbins back in 7th. Jack Fletcher in 8th with Grant Wesley and Jordan Crider. And that Lonnie Crider, number 33 ride, rounding out our top 10. Here in stage number 2, but it is all Brandon Holder who's able to win the second stage of this race as well as the first stage, man. Let's see if we can get him right back up here into the booth. We'll wait and see. They may be coming down pit road right here. If they are, we'll wait until he gets into his pit stall and starts getting the service done here to that 31. Right, we don't want to mess him up down pit side here in this one. So we'll see him eventually make a hard left-hand turn. I think everyone's got to come down pit road right here, and here we go. We are going to see them head down pit side. They're all probably going to throw tires on here, trying to get as much fuel as they can here into their race cars, because they know that there is a potential that we run the second half of this feature event clean and green, and that may bring in, a couple green flag pit stops out there on the racetrack as the 31 gets in there a little slideways, locks him up. Okay, well, we didn't want to mess him up down there, and you get a little sideways anyways. I mean, we could have made that a whole lot worse, but he does throw on some tires, rolls back out onto the racetrack. We'll see where he gets lined back up here as we'll get ready to quickly pull him back up and into the booth here for another little in-race interview, as it does look like Melvin Brenger and Ryan Campbell able to get out in front of him. Hey, Brandon, it's Aaron up here in the Peacemaker Broadcasting booth once again, brother. You got a copy?
Hold on just a second, Sputter's talking. Go ahead.
Brandon, man, so far, it's perfect here in this race. You've been able to work yourself through traffic a couple times. The car has looked really, really racy, whether it's at the front of the field or mid-pack and 2-3 wide out there. And here you are, making it back-to-back here and sweeping the stages here at Homestead, man. Take us back here through stage number 2. Obviously, a few more caution flags, a little bit more to the strategy. Take us back through it.
Yeah, man, the caution flags really helped me out there to be able to. I actually got to put rights on there, so that helped a ton. So it's a lot of fun out here racing with these guys and throwing sliders, and hopefully we can keep it going.
Yeah, absolutely. Still a lot of racing left to go here. About our halfway marker there across the start-finish line. So, 83, 84 laps left to go. Do you think you got what it takes to try to put this 31 right up in victory lane and sweep this race?
Hopefully. We're sure going to give it a shot.
Alrighty, brother. Well, we look forward to it, and hopefully we'll get you back up here into the booth at the end of the night.
All right, man. Sounds good.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, Brandon Holder, our Stage 1 and Stage 2 winner, and ready to restart here in that third position as each and every one of these drivers ready to rumble again. But for Holder, he won the stage. Lost a couple spots there down pit side as is Melvin Brenger and Ryan Campbell, who will lead us back to the green flag. Holder and Merriman there in row number 2 with Jonathan Gaston and Josh Crider in row number 3. Danny White in the 14 of Jack Fletcher, last week's winner, who's already locked into our playoffs there. With that win, we'll start in 8th, and then we see Grant Wesley and Brian Underwood rounding at our top 10 here for our first restart of the final stage of the day. As down across the line through that Geico restart zone, we are back to green flag racing as we hit the halfway marker. 84 laps completed. 83 laps left to go. Our potential final stage of the day. There's no more scheduled caution flags here. The only other time we'll see a yellow flag the rest of the way throughout this race is if there is an incident out there on the speedways. We see the 9 rider, Brent Brewer, down to the infield right here. What in the world may have just went wrong for the 9 ride? Oh no. Oh no. This is a heartbreaker here for the 9 machine of Melvin Brengler, as he ends up having to make a green flag pit stop. He was down pit road. He pitted with everybody else. Did he not? What is going on here? Not a great launch, a great restart. He jumps out in front, and all of a sudden, down the back straightaway, he just pulls down to the infield here and down onto the pit apron right here. Takes that pit road apron and comes down pit side. Man, this is a heartbreaker for Melvin. See if we can take a look at it here. If he comes down pit side, maybe he didn't put tires on and decided that he needed them, or what may have happened here. Do this 9 machine. It's his pit stall. There we go. We see him get jacked up. They're putting tires onto the 9 machine. Unfortunately, though, I just don't see the strategy out of it, because he ends up going a lap down here and now into a very difficult position, but we do see the caution flag come back out. So at least a lucky break there with the yellow flag, but I think for Melvin, he was still a lap down and still not in the free pass position. Last caution flag at that stage break, the lucky dog went to Jeremy Jeffries, bring him to only 1 lap down. This caution flag should put this 1 ride back on the lead lap. So great break there for any of the Monster Energy #1 Jeremy Jeffries fans in the stands here this evening, as you'll see your driver get back on a lead lap. But if you're a Blue Bulls Racing fan in the stands, Melvin unfortunately does lose a lap there with a little bit of a weird pit strategy. I'm not sure why this caution flag came out. I don't know if it came out for somebody else. Let's take a look here, because the 76 a little squirrely right here. I don't see anyone crashing. Anyone around 76? Oh, there it is right there. 16 gets hooked by the 76. The 1 ends up getting a piece of it, so we'll have to wait and see if potentially Jeffries doesn't get the lucky dog for being a part of the yellow. Obviously, no fault of his own, but unfortunately, we'll set him back. Let's take another look at that, actually. Let's jump back there again. Take another look at that, because Jeffries is going to get a great look at this, a great angle at it, because he's going to see what's going on between the 76 of Farrell Robbins and the 16 of Near, as out of corner number 4 there, door to door. So the 16 kind of comes down a little bit right there. 76 comes back up, and honestly, I think that's a little bit more neck code. Let's see if we can jump on here with the 16 of Brad Near, because I feel like you're going to see as the 76 kind of comes back up. Now, they may have made contact nonetheless, but you see they technically don't really touch until about right there, and that 16 ride's already going around off the nose of the 76, so a little neck code in there as well. Unfortunately, though, it does hook, turn the MDI 16 ride around, pointing the wrong direction, nowhere to go for Jeffries as he gets a big piece of it. And then you see the 7 right here as well. Broke over hard contact up into the outside fence, just trying to keep himself out of it and trying to keep himself out of getting any more carnage and mayhem out there. And now we see another caution flag fly, and it does look like for the 1 ride of Jeremy Jeffries, no wave around as of yet there for that 1 machine. No wave around for Melvin Brewer either, so it looks like no lucky dog during that caution flag. And unfortunately for Jeremy, he just kind of found himself in a bad spot, you know, a couple times out there, or else that 1 machine would already be back on the lead lap. It's just we've had a couple caution flags, and he's been kind of right in the middle of it. You know, one, he kind of made contact and kind of got it started. The other one, obviously this one that just happened, really nowhere for him to go in that one. Just innocent bystander, and all of a sudden, get a car parked right there in front of you. You make contact. iRacing will assume that a car that makes contact, at the time of the caution flag is a part of the caution flag, and will not get it as Rubbin is racing. Rubbin is racing. Well, to a certain extent, Rubbin is racing. Wrecking isn't racing. Wrecking is still wrecking. Racing and battling hard, that is Rubbin and racing out there. You lean on each other a little bit, but you do it nicely. You don't really take one or the other around or hook one or the other around. I think that was just, incidental contact nonetheless. I don't think either driver planned on it, and obviously, things happen quickly out there on the racetrack, man. That's why they call them accidents, because they happen, man, and they're not always on purpose. A lot of times it's just that, 1 second, that split second, turn of the wheel that, can shoot your car up or down the speedway, that could make some contact, or you try to overcorrect it, or anything else that, all of a sudden you tail tag or you get a piece of somebody, and that slight contact. We've seen it here already tonight. That little bit of rubbing on the wrong spot at the wrong time can unfortunately take you out of a race and turn you around in a quick hurry. As Sean Merriman, our race leader, sees the green flag flying once again here this evening. So for the 18, great launch, great restart. He will lead us back down and out at core number 2 as you see the 5 rider, Josh Crider, trying to stay in position number 2. Looking to go after the race lead once again as Brandon Holder will slide back into that 4th position. As here comes Danny White again, storming his way up towards the front. And now look out back there behind him. We may see this for a while here this evening. 2, 3, 4 wide racing throughout the field. Everyone trying to work their way up towards the front as they know that the fresh tires early on in these runs, that's when you can really make or break your race here. And especially if we stay clean and green for a long time. But look out! Oh, we got a big one down the back straightaway. Gaston's in it. The 24 Rotengen's in there. Looks like our pole sitter, Ryan Campbell, also tied up in this one. The yellow flag is back out. Oh, man, this is a big caution flag. A lot of our front runners end up tied up in this one, and it looks like it may be Gaston. Let's see if the 72 Gaston comes up, or if potentially the 39 ride comes down a little bit. This will give us a great angle at it. Now, it is a little foggy here at the racetrack, so bear with us on the bit of a glaze that's over the screen here. That's just the fogginess that's kind of rolled in, but you see the 72 kind of coming up, and unfortunately, I think the 39 ride had planned on potentially, looks like he's gotten a good run, and he sees the 31 coming up as well, and Holder actually ends up getting into the outside fence. He's rolling out of throttle, so the 39 is looking to cut underneath of that 31 ride, right about, I don't even know, not even there, right about there. I think he's starting to make that decision, and right here, he knows he's got to cut underneath that 31 ride. 72's coming up, they're tight together, they get tied up, and unfortunately, hook together and they start to go around. They stack up here in a quick hurry. Brian Underwood, our 2-time champion here in the Premium Stock Car Racing League, tied up in that as well as last season's champion Jonathan Gaston, also in this wreck. Some big hits here, man, and this happens, and there's other contact back there behind him. This was one of 2 wrecks here. Let's take another look at it and see the contact here between Gaston, between that 88 or the 39 ride. 88 nowhere to go here, as there's the contact. They beat and bang and battle, and they slide down the racetrack and make hard contact with that inside fence. Rotingen, the 88 machine, heavy damage there as well. Man, a lot of tore up race cars. And then back behind them, I'm not even sure who else gets tied up in this. It looks like maybe Melvin Brenger is kind of in there. I feel like I see that Blue Bull Racing ride. There we go. So it looks like the 13 may get a little contact. Now, he may see the contact in front of him. So let's see if we get another angle at this. So he's headed down through the corner, and oh, right there. Looks like Kevin Calkins going to get a piece of him. See if we get another shot at this one. So Calkins comes up the track as well. 13th trying to diamond the track a little bit, so he's coming down ever so slightly. I'm not sure if Calkins was expecting it, but nonetheless, that slight contact into that left rear quarter panel shoots the 13 ride down the racetrack. Farrell Robbins all of a sudden nowhere to go. We've talked about the 1 ride just having nowhere to go out there on the racetrack. He gets tied up in this one again. The 11 up the speedway. Hard contact, man, for that 16 rider, Brad Neer. Brad Neer just absolutely nowhere to go, man. This was a carnage-filled lap, man. This corner 2 just consumed, a dozen of our finest here this evening, and unfortunately, a lot of damage for some, man. Heavy damage there for the 16, for the 11. 7 rider broke over with some pretty solid damage into that one. Neer gets some damage, or Brenger gets some damage into that as well, and fortunately for a lot of these drivers trying to get through here, it looks like the 2 ride may get up into the fence as well. Obviously, Farrell Robbins getting some damage. The 1 ride, Jeremy Jeffries gets tied up in that one. He goes around. And tough hits here. Oh, the 22 in there as well. Ghostin ends up getting into the 13 here as he's trying to work his way through that. He came in quite a bit later here. Let's see the 22 of Abram Ghostin out there on the racetrack. As the 22 quite a ways back here behind these guys. I don't know if he just thought maybe he could squeeze down underneath. You hear him rolling out of it, trying to get checked up, shoots down to the inside. Doesn't want to hit the grass, and as he does, he kind of sees him parked in front of him and shooting down the racetrack, and it just seems like he locks it down, and as he does, just can't avoid running into the 13 ride right there. And now we got to wait and see, who's all tore up, who's still battling, who's parked down pit side, and who may be potentially out of this race as the 18 of Sean Merriman sees that green flag fly once again here in this one. So for the 18 machine of Sean Merriman, he's out in front with Danny White now into second. Crider's there in third with Jack Fletcher. Jonathan Elardo there in position number 5. Sean Wilder, Jordan Crider, our top 7. Brandon Holder sits back in the 8th position. Now, for our top 7, they did not come down pit road during that caution flag. Everybody else did. And no, he didn't. He didn't right there. He did not get tied up in the wrecks there. So for Holder, just purely strategy here. Came down pit road on lap 93, 11 laps after everyone else. Maybe this was just for fuel. Maybe he figured, this could be, a way to play some strategy. If we go clean and green here for the rest of this race, it may play out perfectly into his hands. So we saw him, we saw Sleitler, we saw obviously Grant Wesley down pit side. He was getting repairs done to the 88 ride for Ryan Campbell as well as Farrell Robbins. Broke over getting repairs. We saw Robert Wolf down pit side getting repairs on the 13. Gaston, obviously heavy repairs for him, heavy repairs for the 6 ride. It looks like he's still got a lot of the damage on that 6 ride, so not sure what the strategy call is here for Underwood. Potentially, I wonder if he made a mistake, maybe already used that quick repair up, or maybe he's still trying to save it for later in this race. Doesn't want to use it up quite this early. He wants to make sure he's still got it in his back pocket even later in this one. As Derek in the chat says, Berlin Raceway. Berlin Raceway. It's a good raceway. It's a good racetrack, honestly. Beautiful, beautiful racetrack. Berlin Raceway is a beautiful facility, but here tonight, man, it's all about Homestead-Miami Speedway for these drivers, and they have been putting on a show for us right from the drop of the green flag. It's going to be a tight battle and a lot of fun here all the way to our checkered flag. It's nice and easy down into corner number 3. See Josh Crider taking a peek down low underneath of Merriman, looking for that race lead once again. Crider has been right there in that hunt at the front here pretty much all evening long. This 5 ride's been up inside the top 5, and here he is again late in this race looking for the race lead from Merriman, but Merriman on the outside lane looking for a big run down into corner number 2. For Crider, he's hoping to slide up, clear the 18 ride, keep him back there behind him, and there it is, slide jump down and out of corner number 2. And for the 5 rider, Josh Crider, he jumps out in front. Looks like he's going to throw a little bit of a block to the slide jump lane, so the 18 ride can't try to get back down underneath of him. But here comes that 64 of Danny White, the 14 of Jack Fletcher, and now for the Clemson Tigers, number 3, Jonathan Elardo, rounding out our top 5. As 100 laps are completed here this evening, 100 laps down, 67 laps left to go here in this one. 67 laps left to duke it out here this evening. And for Josh Crider, he's got the race lead, and he's hoping to keep him back there at bay for the rest of tonight's feature event, but we'll have to wait and see how this one gets played out. As down across the line, it'll be 66 laps left to go as 101 laps now complete, and we'll jump into a quick Peacemaker Gaming crank it up. So ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we want you right now to crank up that volume and cheer on your favorite drivers here this evening as we crank it up here on Peacemaker Gaming. a beautiful crank it up session here this evening from Homestead-Miami Speedway, and for each and every one of these drivers putting themselves into what could be a race-winning strategy here this evening as green flag pit stops have started to fly, including our, at the current time, race leader, the 5 ride of Josh Crider, giving up the race lead to make his way down pit road and to get some service. And now here comes our newest race leader, the 31 ride of Brandon Holder, now going to make his way down pit side as well. Jordan Crider there in 9th. Ryan Campbell also coming down pit side here, so they're going to hit pit road. Josh Crider getting rolling again, so he's made his first green flag pit stop here this final stage of the day, and he's looking to try and use it to his advantage to maybe build a little bit more of a lead, throw a little bit of a gap between himself and some of those drivers back behind him. It may work into his benefit, but right now he's kind of battling through some traffic, and it looks like Sean Merriman may have been able to leapfrog him, as Merriman was down pit road back on lap 110. And it looks like for Melvin Brenger, he was last down pit side back on lap number 92. Looks like he is unfortunately now fallen what could be a lap down after on the speedway. Still going to have to make another pit stop here rather sooner than later, and unfortunately in a bit of a pickle after on the racetrack. But you do see Brandon Holder, he's able to roll back out there. Now he came down pit road a couple laps later after Josh Crider there. So that could be, a second, 2 seconds. We'll have to wait and see if the tires will make up that big of a gap, if he can reel in that 5 ride and get back into the battle for what could be the race lead. As now we start to see more and more these drivers kind of playing that strategy game. More cars coming down pit side. Dustin Sleitler will consume the race lead, so he now sits out front. Gaston's there in second. Brokover's up and into third here in that Fireball number 7 ride. Abram Gostin's back in position number 4 as Mark Rotingen rolls into 5th. Danny White's down pit side. Jack Fletcher, last week's winner, he's down pit side. And he's the one driver that can really gamble here a little bit in this race. For the Home Depot Rigid Machine, that 14 ride winning last week, that opens up a whole world of possibilities here for him this afternoon, as he's already locked into our Premium Stock Car Racing League playoffs with that race win. So he's winning, you're in, and he's in with the win last week, and now he gets to kind of gamble a little bit more, maybe in these races when it comes to fuel strategy or anything else. He can maybe take that extra risk, go that little bit farther, try to see if that game plan or that strategy may work out for him, even if it bites him in the butt, and he goes from, potentially winning the race to finishing dead last. The points here don't really mean too much. If you want the regular season championship, then obviously you still want a good finish and to still have a good run, but you can kind of play around with it. If you feel your strategy is going to work and you want to play it out, then, he's got no risk at all. He's still locked in the playoffs, so he can kind of take that gamble. For other drivers that may have had a bad Daytona and trying not to have back-to-back, tough races to start this season, they're a little bit more, they're a little bit more handcuffed. They can't quite make those strategy calls. So out in front, still rolling here. Obviously a lot longer than a lot of these other drivers is that Van Dorn number 15 ride of Dustin Sleitler, Sleitler in that top spot. You do see Jonathan Gaston in the Apachean Outlaw number 17 ride take over that race lead. So for Gaston, he's still kind of on that strategy. He was down pit road in lap 93, so wasn't Sleitler, Brookover, Ghostin, and Rotingen, and even Brian Underwood. Underwood's still yet to come back down pit side. And for Underwood, he's been saving a lot here, but not only has he been saving, but you see the damage on the 6th ride. I think his big break he's been looking for is a caution flag there to try to help him out. Unfortunately, he's not going to get one. He got to make sure he gets checked up here. Do not want to get a pit road speeding penalty and put yourself into a tough spot. You do see that Rogue Energy number 45 ride has rejoined the field here. He is back into the battle for Scott Lee. He did regain at least a position as Wesley Burke has been down and out of this race since lap number 71. So for Burke, looks like he's called it an early night, but for this number 45, he keeps on rolling. For Kevin Calkins, he's down behind pit wall and out of this race. The 16 ride of Brad Neer, he's still rolling out there. He's got the damage. He's been down pit side since lap number 93. He's hoping that he can get back into the action here. Unfortunately, he's so many laps down that he's not going to be anywhere in line to try to win this race. But if he can jump back out there, maybe he can stay in front of Scott Lee, at least save one extra position, trying to keep him here in that 22nd position. Maybe gain a couple if there's another issue out there on the speedway, but obviously still looking to try to get this 16 ride repaired. It's obviously getting tied up. Back-to-back cautions there. Heavy damage both times. Use that quick repair up. No longer has it in his back pocket, and unfortunately, kind of paying the price for it right now, as we do see Abram Ghostin down pit side. Mark Rotingen also down pit road. Now here comes Dustin Seitler, the 9 ride of Melvin Brenger also down pit road. Now for Brenger, I do believe he has fallen a lap down here. I'm not sure if there's still damage, internal damage for the 9 ride, but he's definitely been off the pace here throughout this run. For Brookover, he's also down pit road in the 7, so the last driver here to finish out this pit cycle and this fuel strategy is this number 72 of Gaston. Here he comes, finally down pit road. Oh, baby, he's on the brakes hard, getting sideways, kicking it out. Luckily enough, hangs on to it, still rolling in the right direction, which is a good thing, but that may cost him a couple seconds, which could potentially hurt him here this evening. We'll have to wait and see, because he's down pit road, the last driver to make this green flag pit stop. Now, the thing is that all these drivers have been running so much better lap times than that number 72 of Gaston that they're going to leapfrog him here with these. He's going to fall deep into this field, but as he comes back out, he should have, that 10 lap better tires and fuel than some of these other drivers. May work into his advantage, and when it comes to the fuel mileage game plan, it really may work out into his favor, but we'll have to wait and see, because he pitted here on lap 125. So 125 laps, he would virtually have to make it 42 laps. I just don't see that he can make it that far, so he is going to have to make at least one more pit stop here this evening. I think everybody will have to make one more pit stop, but for that 72, obviously now with the fresh tires here, he can maybe pick up a lot of time, a lot of gaps here, try to work himself forward, and then maybe run a little longer again in this next run, have a lot slower pit stop. Even if he pitted with everybody at the same time, potentially having that extra 10 laps of fuel may take that pit stop from, being a 12-second pit stop down to a 9-second pit stop. That could still save him another 3 seconds out there on the racetrack. I'm just not sure if the risk versus reward will pay off. We'll see throughout this run how much he can gain back and how much closer he can draw to our race leaders here throughout this run. But as of right now, it is Josh Crider and Brandon Holder duking it out here for the race lead. Sean Merriman not too far back there behind him as he's mirrored back in position number 3. Jonathan Elardo a little farther back behind those 3 as our 4th place driver sits about 2.7 seconds, 2.8 seconds back of the top 3 here. So a bit of a gap there between the two, but for Jonathan Elardo having a good run here in 4th. Danny White sits there in position number 5. Jack Fletcher, last week's winner, in that 6th position. Our pole sitter here this evening, that ally number 39 ride, Orion Campbell, sits in 7th. Jordan Crider in position number 8. He's got that 88 of Grant Wesley taking a peek down to his inside. Sean Wilder rounds out our top 10 as our 2nd place finisher, our runner-up last week in that high velocity racing number 99 ride. Sure, he'd love to make another trip up onto the podium here in race number 2 on the season, but for the 99 ride, as he sits back here in that 10th position, obviously may need a caution flag or a little something to work his way to try to get him back into the battle. As Farrell Robbins sits in 11th, Gaston, his teammate, right there behind him in position number 12. And for Gaston, a lot of these drivers in front of him, he's got, 15, 13, 14 lap better tires here, so he's going to be flying I mean, it's not a huge difference early on, but later in this run, as the older guys with the older tires now, start to fall off a little bit. When you look at our race leaders like Crider and Holder with 10, 12 lap older tires compared to the 72 ride, their pace is really going to start to fall off here. And for Gaston, he's going to be running some very, very quick lap times in comparison to them. And he may be able to gain a lot of ground here back and get back into maybe a top 5 run. Maybe try to see what this strategy call and how it works out for Gaston here this evening, as third place finisher last Saturday night. He's looking for another good run here this evening. Right now sits in that 12th position. Back in 13th is the 15 rider Dustin Sleitler. Behind him in that Gorilla Garage Door, number 13 rider Robert Wolf sits in 14th. The Fireball, number 7 of Nathan Brookover, rounds out our top 15 as Abram Ghostin, Mark Rotingen, Jeremy Jeffries, Melvin Brangor, Brian Underwood, who is now parked down pit side here for an extended period of time. He came down pit road there on lap 126. Hoping that he can get this damage repaired. Unfortunately, looks like he may be down here for an extended period of time, potentially even for the rest of this race. He's now fallen about 6 laps down, so he's virtually out of the running here of trying to win tonight's feature event. Derek Bates back there as well in 21st. Scott Lee has gained another position as Brad Neer still down pit side. Scott Lee leapfrogs at least another cat here, jumps up into 22nd, and with potentially Underwood parked down pit road here for a little while longer, he may be able to leapfrog that 6 and pick up another spot out there on the racetrack. So what looked to be, a really bad finish here to start off tonight's race, getting tied up early on, getting all that damage, being parked down pit side for so long. At least he may be able to salvage a couple extra spots here out of this race and maybe a few extra points to put back into his rear pocket. As unfortunately for Brian Neer, still down pit road. Kevin Calkins down and out of this race, and so isn't Wesley Burke. So at least 2 drivers are completely done. They have unloaded, they've loaded up their rides. I don't think they're jumping back out here for the rest of this evening. For Brad Neer, Brian Underwood, the verdict is still out on both of them as they're down pit side, but obviously looking to get heavy repairs done to their race cars here today. And for our race leaders, that's a couple, very tough competitors that are no longer out there on the racetrack that they really have to, battle with or deal with or anything else. We talked to Josh Crider prior to tonight's race, and he was telling me that he didn't get a whole lot of time this week to practice. He was kind of, sat back, didn't really run a whole lot of laps. A lot of these drivers have ran a ton of practices. They've got a couple 100 laps of practice under their belt compared to Mr. Crider. So he seemed like he was kind of down in the dumps on himself, that he wasn't really going to have a good shot here. But I've known Josh for quite a few years now, and I've known that this 5 ride tends to do fairly decent here at Homestead-Miami Speedway. I asked him if he thought he had a chance of winning this race. He didn't think he did. He thought the car to beat was going to be that 6 of Brian Underwood. He thought Underwood was going to be really fast, and he was going to be the car to beat here this evening. But as of right now, 136 laps completed. Next time by will be 137 laps. We will have virtually 30 laps left to go the next time by the start-finish line. And for Crider, he finds himself out in front. Now Brandon Holder has looked really good here tonight as well. I think we're going to see a great finish here between these two. You could probably even throw in Sean Merriman as well, who's not too far back behind them. If we stay clean and green, I think it's pretty much down to those 3. Maybe we could see somebody else race their way out there, but they got to make up a lot of ground. Is back behind Sean Merriman. It's almost a 4-second gap here back to our 4th place driver, which is now Danny White. Jonathan Elardo falls back into 5th. Jack Fletcher's there in 6th. Ryan Campbell, Jordan Crider, Grant Wesley, and then we see Gaston rounding out our top 10. Now Gaston does have quite a bit better tires than the drivers in front of him here, but really over the last 12 laps, he's only gained about 2 seconds, 2.5 seconds between himself and our race leader, Josh Crider. So he hasn't really made up too much ground to the race leaders. Now he's made a couple more passes. He's rejoined the top 10, but we'll have to wait and see if that trend continues on, if he continues to pick him off and continues to work his way back up towards that top 5 here throughout this run this afternoon. But here we go again. Holder looking and rolling nicely down low here and getting a great run underneath the Crider, but Crider's going to get a good run down straight away, and he's going to lead another lap here. 139 laps now complete. We do see Sean Merriman heading down pit road, so it looks like for some drivers potentially coming down pit side for the final time here this evening, and it looks like Sean Merriman is looking to try to use this quick pit here to his advantage. They're just past kind of that 30-31 lap marker where these guys can probably make it on fuel, so they got only 28 laps or so to get to the checkered flag. Obviously, they're in that fuel window. They can make it to the end of the race. They may have an opportunity and enough fuel to, do a NASCAR overtime or two. Obviously, none of these drivers want to be in that position, but you want to make sure you have at least that extra couple laps of fuel. And now we do see Brandon Holder also down pit road making his stop. And again, he gets in here a little bit differently than a few of these other drivers. A lot of these guys come in more angled with the front end towards that pit wall. He kind of comes in, kicks that rear end in towards the pit wall to help on, pit road and exit, especially if there was a car parked in front of him. Really, really interesting pit stop there for him. And now here comes our race leader, Josh Crider. Says, I can't wait much longer. I know these guys behind me are going to leapfrog me. They got the better tires. They're going to be running better lap times. They're probably going to be able to drive around him virtually on the racetrack, and have that track position may be the key to success here late in this race, to try to throw some aero blocks, to try to keep those guys, back behind you. For Josh Crider, he says, I can't wait any longer. They, one, may get too far out in front of me, or two, that, they may be able to use the air themselves if they're in front of him to hold him off here this evening. So he comes down pit road only a couple laps after Merriman, a lap after Brandon Holder. Now for Holder, that was a really quick pit stop for the 31, because he's already past the 5 right of Josh Crider. I don't see how he got such a big gap here, man. We have to go back and take a look at these pit stops, because he came down 1 lap earlier than Josh Crider, but down the back straightaway, Crider's still trying to build up that speed. Brandon Holder is going to have almost a 5-second gap now between himself and Josh Crider. So you gotta wonder, did Brandon Holder maybe pull a Houdini here on some of these drivers and maybe go with a 2-tire pit stop right there? And if they did go for a 2-tire pit stop, if he did gain all that time just alone on the pit stop, what does that do for the tank of fuel? Will he be a little tighter on fuel? Will it be too close to call here for the 31 right? Will we have to see him potentially safe here late in this race, as we did see Gaston also come down pit side here. So we talked about the 72 and his strategy. He was able to gain a few spots there throughout that run, obviously with the better tires than everybody, but it was a fairly shorter pit stop for himself, and now he finds himself, really, I think he just gained about 3 seconds, maybe even 4 seconds down pit road on Josh Crider and Sean Merriman. So I think that worked out really nicely for him, and now obviously he's a little bit more level playing field when it comes to the tires here, and still looking to try to gain some of that extra track position. I feel after this cycles through, all these other drivers out front come down pit road, as we do see Jordan Crider and Sean Wilder down pit side. Going to work out here, for potentially Jonathan Gaston to get a pretty solid finish here this evening again. As Brian Underwood says, 2 tires quicker than 4. Holder got 2. Holder definitely got 2, but the big question's got to be fuel. I think that's the big question. Brian, you would know. Mr. Underwood's in the chat here. Obviously, he's parked down pit side. Heavily damaged race car. Looks like it's going to be the end of the night for that number 6 heartbreaker there for him in our second race of the season. But really, how far can he go on a tank of fuel here, Brian? Because I feel throughout that first stage of the day when we were clean and green, it seemed like Gaston pushed it the farthest, went about 31 laps. Didn't really see anyone go too much farther than that 31 lap marker. And for a lot of these drivers, they pit with 28 laps left to go, so that may give them, a 3-lap buffer. But doing that 2-tire pit stop, did he potentially not get enough fuel into the tank here? Was it maybe too quick of a pit stop that it could potentially come back to bite him here later in this run? But we do see Crider obviously now with the 4 tires. That's going to gain some time here, as well as he's going to be on the hunt, trying to check up and try to reel in that 31 ride. As Brian says, he waited for fuel. 28 laps on the run at normal pace. Okay, 28 laps at normal pace. So if he does save a little bit here, expecting Crider to push hard here, maybe it kind of balances out the tires a little bit more. Maybe it kind of saves a little bit of his stuff, but also saves a little bit of fuel, because I think they're right there at that fuel window. When they came down pit road, it was kind of right there for these guys at, what, lap number 39, lap 41, lap 140. We have 27, 28 laps left of racing here. Obviously, it's going to get really, really close here. You just got to hope that it didn't misjudge it, or potentially for Holder, if he did get that tank filled, he could be sitting in a premium position right here. He still has about 3 seconds between himself. Actually, it's about 3.5 now. Crider picked up quite a bit there on that last lap. So about 3.5 seconds between Brandon Holder and Josh Crider. So he has gained quite a little bit of that time back. Probably about a second and a quarter or so that he's chipped back away from Brandon Holder. So he has kind of caught up to him a little bit. Now maybe that's just the tires. Maybe that's, you know, maybe Holder trying to save that extra lap or two in case if he didn't quite get enough into it. But nonetheless, for the 31 ride, you know, he's got that top spot. He's rolling what is going to be as our race lead, as we still have Nathan Brookover and Abram Ghostin still rolling out there. They're yet to come back down pit side. Obviously, both drivers still have to make a pit stop here this evening. They were down pit side on lap 124 and lap 123. They're probably going to have to hit pit side here in the next lap or so. So we should see them down pit road soon, but obviously trying to play a little bit of that strategy and hope that maybe they could catch a lucky caution flag, so that extra set of tires back behind pit wall. But things will cycle back here to Brandon Holder. And for Josh Crider, he's going to have to try to play catch up. He's going to have to try and figure out a way to gain that time back, to reel in to Brandon Holder. And it's one thing to catch him, it's another thing to get around him here and trying to take the race lead away from Holder here in this race. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see how this one plays out, as Holder sits in third right now currently, but what will be our race lead? Crider would be in second, with Merriman back there still in that third position. Now they still have about that 3.74 seconds here between virtually our what would be our third place driver and our fourth place driver, as Fletcher doing a great job here in what is currently the sixth position. Jonathan Lardo there in seventh with Danny White, Gaston, Ryan Campbell rounding out our top 10 right now. But with our top two still having to make a pit stop here late in this race, it would slide Jordan Crider and Grant Wesley into our top 10 here this evening. So far, even though if Crider can't catch up the Holder, if Crider does have to settle in for a second place finish, man, that rubbered up motorsports team, man, great runs here this evening for them, with Crider running here in what would be virtually that second position on the racetrack. You look back at Jack Fletcher, last week's winner, part of that team. He rolls right now in what would be the fourth position. You look at Jordan Crider, who would be inside the top 10, and so wouldn't Grant Wesley. Now, we do see, obviously, Jeremy Jeffries and the issues he's had in this race. The one ride has looked really, really strong here. Just unfortunately, a few of those caution flags he got tied up in, and unfortunately, as he got tied up in those wrecks, he did not get the lucky dogs he needed. He is still scored, as of right now, I believe, one lap down out on the racetrack. And unfortunately, going to be tough for him, man. Had such a hot rod here this evening. That early contact going a couple laps down kind of just took himself out of this one, as we do see Brookover and Abram Ghostin both down pit side. So Brandon Holder does reconsume the race lead. Down and across the line, he'll click off lap 154 here this evening, and it's 13 laps left to go here in this feature event, and the gap is about 3.1 seconds between Josh Crider and this 31 ride. There's a whole lot of threes and ones here, and late in this race, the fine ride, hoping that he can gain virtually almost 0.5 of a second here a lap. He's going to need to gain a ton. He's going to have to start to really chip away at that race lead of Brandon Holder if he wants to have a shot at potentially winning this race. I do believe we saw Brandon Holder Now, earlier on, he came down pit road. It looked like he made a two-tire pit stop kind of midway through this race, and I think he was using that kind of as a a bit of a theory and a little bit of a test to see what the two tires would do here. I didn't really see anyone else kind of take that strategy call or see what that would plan out like. We saw pretty much everybody, coming down pit road throwing 4 tires on, but the 31 took 2 early on, and I think he kind of left that in the back of his mind that, hey, you know what, the 2 tires hold on a ton here and make a huge difference. And right now, it's making a good enough difference that Crider is not really gaining on him at all. And for the 31, he got so much ground to that pit stop, being so much quicker down pit side than Josh Crider, that that could have been such a big race-winning move here this evening as he continues to hold down the top spot. Nice and easy down and out of corner number 4 here at Homestead-Miami Speedway. For Brandon Holder, he won stage 1, he won stage 2, and now here with 10 laps left to go in this A-main feature event, Brandon Holder has a 3-second lead, trying to keep Josh Crider back there at bay. Can our Season 2 champion of the Premium Stock Car Racing League make up that gap? Can he reel in the 31? And if he can get to the back bumper here, Holder, can he figure out a way to get around him within the time that he's got here? And it's running down in a quick hurry. Is now 9 laps left to go here in this feature event. He's got no pressure to his back bumper. Sean Merriman sits about 1.2 seconds behind Crider, and then they got a big gap here between themselves and that 14 of Jack Fletcher, who rolls in that 4th position. Jonathan Ilardo, great run here for Ilardo in that Clemson Tigers number 3 ride as he sits in that 5th position. Danny White's back in 6th with Gaston in 7th here this evening. Ryan Campbell back in 8th. Jordan Crider and Grant Wesley rounding out the top 10. Dustin Slater, Farrell Robbins, Sean Wilder, last week's 2nd place finisher, back in 13th with Nathan Brookover and Abram Ghostin rounding out our top 15. Robert Wolf there in 16th with Melvin Brenger back in 17th. And then we see Jeremy Jeffries, Mark Rotingen, Derek Bates down pit side, Brian Underwood down pit road, Scott Lee scored back in 22nd with Brad Neer, Kevin Calkins, and Wesley Burke rounding out our 25-car field here this evening. Now for Scott Lee, he does have, enough time. He could potentially leapfrog Brian Underwood here. I'm not sure if he'll have enough time or enough laps to get around Derek Bates. Now, if we did go to NASCAR overtime, potentially that would allow him to maybe leapfrog and gain a couple extra spots here this evening. But it looks like maybe only 1 extra spot here available for that 45 ride. But, man, he turned what could have been a 25th place finish into maybe 21st. I mean, yeah, it's not that much better, and it's still probably a disappointment here to that 45 ride. At least he's able to gain that extra 4 points. That could be a difference maker between making the playoffs and not making the playoffs, and trying to make the playoffs right now with a win, and you're in here this evening in race number 2 of the season. Brandon Holder, who sits out in front, he's starting to pull away from Josh Crider. Crider is now back about 3.6 seconds. He's losing a ton of time here to that 31 ride. Brandon Holder is starting to run away from him. As down and across the line, we will see the high five from the flagman. 5 more laps left to go here from Homestead-Miami Speedway as the 2nd race here on the season for the Premium Stock Car Racing League. Man, it has been a good one. We saw, a few caution flags in that first stage, a few quick and big caution flags in stage number 2. A couple heavy hits at the start of this final stage, but kind of after we went back green flag racing around lap number 94, 95, it has been non-stop green flag racing here in this one. A pair of green flag pit stops for these drivers and a great run here to potentially finish off this race. Now, that is, potentially, still going on here. Now, there is always the opportunity for the big Y flag to come out here late in this race. We're not even going to say it. We don't want to jinx them here this evening. But, a couple laps left to go here for Holder. He's just trying to make sure he gets that white flag as quick as possible. He wants to see this race virtually get into the history books here with no late race caution, no late race drama here this evening. He's got 4 seconds between himself and Josh Crider. He's still pulling away from this fine ride. I think Crider was just pushing so hard there, trying to reel him in. Unfortunately, he was just burning and heating his tires up too much that eventually they just kind of fell off. And unfortunately for him, the 31 right a Holder, just taking it so easy. He's been able to hit that inside lane so nicely, so smoothly here this evening that he really wasn't burning his stuff up. And then once he kind of moved up into that middle groove, he's been a little bit more on the throttle and pulling farther and farther away from that 5 and down across the line. Only 2 laps left to go. So with only 2 laps left here for Brandon Holder, he's just trying to make it here to that white flag. He knows he needs to see that white flag fly. He does not want to see the big Y come out here late in this race with such a gap. He's virtually on cruise control here for the rest of this race. It's nice and easy down and out at corner number 4. Back down across the line. No late race caution flags will flip this race on its head as the white flag is displayed our final time around here this evening from Homestead-Miami Speedway for Brandon Holder, one of our championship competitors here in this series last season. Looking to try to work his way back into the playoffs here with a big win in race number 2 as he takes us for the final time. Down and into 3 and out of corner number 4 for the singular Chevrolet, the 31 of Brandon Holder. He will pick up the dub here this evening from Homestead-Miami Speedway. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, give it a round of applause. Let's see congratulations in the chat right now as Holder picks up the dub and pulls himself up and in to the Homestead-Miami Speedway victory lane. Josh Crider, great run, valiant effort all evening long. Up inside the top 5, top 3 pretty much all evening for that 5 ride. Comes home in second. Sean Merriman, he was right there as well pretty much all evening. And for the 18, rounds out our podium here this evening. Jack Fletcher and Jonathan Gaston jumps up inside the top 5. Great run there for Gaston. The strategy worked out fairly nice there for the 72 ride. Jonathan Elardo unfortunately fell back into 6th there late in this race with Danny White, Ryan Campbell, Jordan Crider, and Grant Wesley rounding out our top 10. But for the singular Chevrolet, the easy go machine of Brandon Holder, he gets to celebrate here in Miami is our race winner here this evening, man. As Martin says, congrats on the win. Brian Underwood in the chat as well says, great win, great race here this evening, man. These guys put on an absolute show for us, ladies and gentlemen. My gosh, that was a lot of fun. And now we get to hear from the 31 Ryan. We already heard from him twice here today because virtually, other than the pole, this 31 ride was kind of perfect here this evening, man. Swept this race. Get the brooms out, man, as he was able to win stage 1, won stage number 2. Comes out here and picks up the dub here at Homestead-Miami Speedway for what was virtually a perfect day at the Speedway, besides his, middle-of-the-pack qualifying run. For Crider, he was right up there all day long, man. We'll get all 3 of our top 3 up and into the booth here for some post-race interviews, man. Get ready, because we're going to get ready to pull that 31 up here into the booth, just waiting for him to jump into the interview room. So we'll have to wait and see if we can get him up here as, solid run, solid performance for him. Obviously, he may have had to go pee or something, so we'll give him a little bit of a break. We may bring in our second place finisher. Let's see if we can just try to drag him in here. He's a little far up there. Let's see here. Where's Holder? See if we can drag him in here, chat. There he is. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, give it up here for our race winner one more time. The 31 of Brandon Holder as we get him up and in to the broadcast booth. Hey, Brandon, it's Aaron up here in the Peacemaker Broadcasting booth again. Do you get a copy?
I got you.
Brandon, man, you got to be getting good at these as third time here tonight. You've been dragged up here into the broadcast booth, man. Take us back through this one, because obviously, a bit of a tough qualifying run. You didn't really get the run I think you wanted, so you started, mid-pack towards the rear of the field, and obviously you jumped up there. You were able to have a great run. You had the pitch strategy. You win stage number 1. A few of those caution flags and a little bit more strategy. You end up winning stage number 2. And then here in this feature event, it comes down to these green flag pit stops, and it looked like there on that final pit stop as you and Crider are running 1 and 2, battling hard there for the race lead. You come down pit side, throw 2 tires on. You have that quick pit stop. Crider's back there behind you, pits another lap later, and unfortunately goes for 4 tires, and you just never make up that gap. He got as close as about 3 seconds back to your rear bumper, and then all of a sudden you just started to kind of slide up the racetrack, run a little bit more of that middle groove, and start to pull back away from him here in this feature event, man. Take us back through it, and obviously the strategy call there at the 2-tire pit stop.
Well, first of all, after stage 2, I caused a big wreck there, and I want to apologize to everybody. I had left sides on only, and the car did not turn. I went straight to the wall, and I gathered a bunch of people up on that, so I really hate that. But as far as the car was really good. Homestead is one of my tracks that I really struggle at, but something about this car, it fit me tonight, so proud of it. Crider was doing a great job there right before that pit stop, so I knew I had to get in front of him, and I figured he would take 2 as well, but I'm glad he didn't, so I'm glad to bring it home.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, as you're watching that, the black box, you're trying to take a look at the relative here throughout that final run, trying to see the gap and see either how quickly Crider's catching up to you or what the gap is as you kind of roll back onto the racetrack and things kind of cycle back through. What was going through your mind there as you roll back out and all of a sudden you realize you had that, 4.5 second gap between yourself and Josh Crider late in this race?
Yeah, I have to turn the black box off. I don't even look at it. I just look in the mirror down both straights and make sure that I can't see him and just try to focus and run my line.
Yeah, absolutely. Try to focus, hit your line, and you're able to do that virtually perfectly here tonight, man. I don't know if I saw another car able to hug that white line as good as you were here this evening. Take us kind of through that, as it seemed a lot of drivers were struggling to hold that white line. You kept it down there. Was that, better for tires? Is that worse for tires? Is that just kind of the strategy to hug the white line as long as you can here when you have those fresher tires?
Yeah, I mean, it's just the best way that I could find to make time. If you could hook the bottom, it felt really good. Like if you could get a little bit under it, it even helped turn the car. So that's what I was trying to do every lap.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you were able to do it here for a lot of laps, and it works out perfectly for you as you park yourself up and into victory lane here in race number 2 on the season. Your win and you're in, so you're once again going to be a part of the Premium Stock Car Racing League playoffs and have another opportunity to try to work your way through those playoffs. Obviously, now with getting those bonus points in your back pocket, you're going to be looking to gain more wins and more bonus points along the rest of the regular season to try to help advance yourself back into that championship four, to try to battle again, maybe have better luck to try and win this season's championship.
Yeah, that's the goal. Hopefully we can pile on some wins, get some points, and let everything take care of itself.
Absolutely. Well, man, a heck of a run, heck of a drive for you here as you park that car up in victory lane after sweeping the stages here at Homestead-Miami Speedway. Brandon, who would you like to thank for a great run and great drive here this evening?
Again, I just want to apologize to everyone for causing that wreck. I want to thank Brian and Josh for putting up rooms this week, throughout the week. They were a ton of help. And I want to thank the guys on the glove box team, Dustin, Brad, and Ryan. And I want to thank you for the broadcast. It's excellent, and I enjoy going back and watching it.
Absolutely. Well, they're always that much more enjoyable when you know the outcome is in your favor. So you'll be able to sit back, relax, and watch yourself go to work and find victory lane when you rewatch this one, man. Brandon, congrats on the win. Congrats on the great drive. We look forward to seeing you back out there on the racetrack next Saturday night.
All right, buddy. Look forward to it.
Absolutely enjoy the rest of your night, and don't party too hard down there in Victory Lane.
Yes, sir.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, give it up there for our race winner, Mr. Brandon Holder, as Holder picks up the dub. It's to celebrate here in Miami, man. What a run, what a drive, what a performance there for that number 31 machinist. We'll get ready to pull in our second place finisher here, the number 5 of Josh Crider. Crider comes home in position number 2. We got his webcam up here as well. Let's get him into the booth right now for his post-race interview. Hey, Josh, it's Aaron up here in the Peacemaker Broadcasting booth. To get a copy?
Yeah, I got you.
Josh, man, great run for you here this evening. A strong ride all night long, and it came down to that final pit stop. You go for the 4 tires, the 31 pulls out the 2-tire pit stop, and that was the difference maker late in this race, man. Take us back through it, though. Obviously, you know, some good stage points for yourself, up inside the top 5, top 3, pretty much all evening long, and so close to tasting victory here at Homestead-Miami Speedway, man. Take us back through it.
Yeah, it's you know, in that situation, and you know, you come in. If you take 4, he takes 2. If he takes 2, you take 4. You know, taking 2 was the right choice. I don't know why I took 4, but you know, Brandon and I have the utmost respect for Brandon. You know, we got into it in the championship race, run for the championship last season, but we really ran well together there for 50 laps or whatever it was, pretty much side by side. And, you know, it was a lot of fun running with him and Sean, running with Sean too. It was a good time, but you know, I mean, you win some, you lose some. I didn't think I mean, I talked to you before the race. I didn't think that I would have like any speed at all, but it was weird. Like, you know, the beginning of the race was kind of like banging the boards up on the top and, you know, really had speed there. And then about halfway through, I found the groove on the bottom, and Brandon found the groove on the bottom, and Sean found the groove on the bottom. We all just kind of like ran down there, and it was really competitive. And to pass, you had to like throw it in there and, you know, push the guy up, or, you know, hope that there was a mistake there. And, you know, I threw this one away.
Yeah, unfortunately there, obviously just the pit stop, you know, bites you in the butt late in this race. But man, we talked about it throughout the broadcast that we talked prior to this race. You thought that the 6 of Underwood was going to be, you know, the car to beat here this evening. Early on, obviously it was shown that Holder was going to have a good piece here this evening, but you were right there in the mix right from the drop of the green flag and virtually right down to the checkered flag here to have an opportunity to win this race. If it wasn't for that strategy call, you know, it would have been a tight battle, I think, between you and Holder here to finish off this race, but you counted yourself out before the race even started, and here you are coming home with a very solid second place run.
Yeah. Yeah, second sucks, but you know, I'm glad to finish second. It's a good points day. To continue to climb up in the ladder in the points. I always like doing well. I want to say thank you to the people that were in the chat tonight and engaging, you know, and talking back and forth. I appreciate that, and the support that everybody watching at home gives Premium Stock Car Racing League every Saturday night. You know, I want to thank my sponsors, Lonnie Crider, Kirsten Mai with the Rollin Wieners Foundation, Ethan and Garrett. I think, you know, just everybody, all the drivers, all 25 tonight, and, you know, continuing strong. I sincerely just appreciate every single one of you. I want to thank my new team that I've got. I want to thank Grant and Jack and Jeremy, and then myself running on a team with Rubber Duck Motorsports. We all had a really good showing tonight. So I had fun, and I guess that's all that matters, right? Even though you finished second, I guess you're alive and living. So that's always great, right?
That is always great, brother, and obviously, you know, having fun out there on the racetrack, enjoying your Saturday night is always, you know, the main goal, I think, here for everybody. Obviously, winning makes it that much more fun, you know, after being able to park yourself up into victory lane, but being able to finish strong, have a good drive, and you said it yourself, man, your teammates doing a great job as well here. The new team, you look back behind you, you got Fletcher there in fourth, you got, you know, We saw Jordan Crider, your brother, in the chat with you. He comes home in 9th. Grant Wesley was there in 10th. Obviously, bit of a rough go for the one ride at Jeffries as, we went a couple laps down early on in this race, and it seemed like every time he was in line to get a lucky dog, he got tied up in one of those caution flags and just could never get that lap that he needed to get back on a lead lap and back into this race. But he showed some really, really good, strong speed here this evening as well. So it seems like the team is hooked up and running really, really strong here in race number 2 and trying to carry that momentum right on through for the whole season.
Yeah, we're on to Richmond. We got next weekend off for Valentine's Day and the Daytona 500. And then we'll pick right back up at Richmond the following week after, and God only knows what that place is going to be about. So
Yeah, absolutely.
we'll see. Gotta love short track racing. I hate short track racing. I can't stand it, but we'll move on to it. I got a partner named Brian that loves short track racing. So
yeah, I'm in favor of the short track racing when it comes to real life racing. On iRacing, it's been very hit or miss. I've been through the ringer on some, and some have been really good. And hopefully, in 2 weeks' time, we'll see you guys go out there and put on a master class and a great show for all the fans in the stands, and another amazing Saturday night here with the Premium Stock Car Racing League. Josh, congrats on the second place run here in this one, man. Hopefully we get you right back up here in the broadcast booth next Saturday. Well, 2 Saturday nights from now.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, shout out to my brother for the up 10 tonight. That's awesome. That's what happens when you practice and rock and roll. So I'll get out of the booth, and that way you can talk to Sean, and God bless everybody, and have a good night.
Absolutely. All righty, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, give it up for that number 5 ride of Josh Crider. As the Rob Beaver says, brah, that shirt, yeah, he's got the webcam on. You got to get a look at the shirt. I don't even know. What does that say? I got to get a closer look at it. Oh, gosh. No comment on the t-shirt there. No comment on the t-shirt. It's funny, but no comment on the t-shirt. But we'll get ready now as Crider comes home with a very solid second place finish. Let's pull in our third place driver here this evening, Sean Merriman. Sean comes home with a very, very solid third place run. Let's get him up here into the booth. Hey, Sean, it's Aaron up here in the Peacemaker Broadcasting booth. To get a copy?
Yes, sir. I got you, Aaron.
Sean, brother, great run, great drive for you here in this one. Obviously, some great tight battling there at the front of the field. You're able to lead quite a few laps here this evening, really show off some good speed in that 18 ride. And then, obviously, late in this one, kind of came down between, you and Crider and Brandon Holder. Obviously, Holder makes that big strategy call. You and Crider were still tight there together, though. You were in line. You gave it a shot. You tried to make some of those pit strategies, pitting a little bit sooner than they did to try to give yourself a little bit of a leapfrog action, trying to get in front of them or trying to get yourself back to their rear bumper, and it almost worked out for you. But obviously, some strategy calls of their own, they were able to keep themselves just in front of you as you come home with a very solid third place run, man. Take us back through this race as the 18 ride strong all evening long.
Yeah, Homestead's one of my better tracks, so I was confident I was going to have a good run. And then the top 3, I mean, we were probably the top 3 most of the night, so we all deserved to finish up there anyway. I think kind of the thing, I wouldn't say the thing that cost me the race, but that first set of green flag pit stops in the third stage, I came out in just so much traffic. I made no time up at all, kind of short pitting everybody else. And then clean racetrack, I'd probably come out a couple seconds ahead, but we all kind of came out on top of each other, and it was just a straight race from there. And then the last green flag stop, I knew I ran my fuel down to pretty much nothing, so I was going to need a full tank anyway, so I figured I wasn't really saving any time taking 2 tires, so I just took 4, and that didn't matter. I think another 5 laps or so, me and Josh should have had a good race, although I think I only had 2 laps of fuel left anyway, so that wouldn't matter either. So I'll take my third, call it a night, and come back in a couple weeks and try to get back on the podium and get back in the booth with you.
Yeah, absolutely. We head to Richmond here in 2 weeks' time after our Daytona 500 and Valentine's Day break. And then, obviously, a good run here tonight, a strong performance. You get some good points, which is great to have in your back pocket throughout the season. And, obviously trying to back that up with a good run 2 weeks from now in that 18 ride. But, man, a great run, great performance for you as you park the 18 ride up on the podium here tonight. Sean, who'd you like to thank for a great and strong performance here this evening?
If I gotta thank him for a strong performance, I gotta thank myself. Nobody else helped me do that, but wife and kid give me the permission to race in peace on Saturday nights and a couple times during the week. The whole PSCRL group, I need a better nickname. It's hard to spit out PSCRL every night, but that whole team, Josh, Brian, they put on a strong league, competitive league. I really think there's 10 or 12 guys in this league that could win on every given night, and that takes people at the top recruiting them, finding them, putting stuff out to get people like that in here to have a competitive league. You and Peacemaker team broadcasting the races every Saturday night, doing a heck of a job. And anybody still up at 11:18 watching this thing, thank you all.
Absolutely, brother. Well, it's my bedtime. I'm sure it's potentially yours and a lot of people in chats as well, so we won't keep you here much longer. Sean, congrats on the third place run, man. We can't wait to see you back in action in 2 weeks' time. And as you said, hopefully right back up here in the broadcast booth talking to us.
Hope so. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Enjoy the rest of your night.
All right, you too.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, give it up there for our third place finisher, the 18 of Sean Merriman. As Merriman comes home, very solid, very stout, top 3 performance there for the 18 ride. And for a lot of these drivers, obviously some didn't get quite the finishes that they were hoping for. When you look back there, you look at Scott Lee, who got tied up in a wreck early. You look at a couple of these other guys that ended up in a few of those wrecks, had some issues throughout this race. When you look at, Wesley Burke obviously showing up late to the feature event and starting off a few laps down, then calling it quits there midway through the race. Kevin Calkins, Brad Neer, Underwood with heavy damage, and unfortunately no quick repairs left in their back pocket. Early exits for them. And honestly, those are a lot of fast cats that, want to be up there, want to be competing not only for race wins, but just still even good top 5, top 10 runs, not wanting to finish back here at the pack of the pack. So we'll have to wait and see if that kind of lights a fire under them and if they can kind of, make up for some lost ground here this evening and try to race their way up and into victory lane here in the next few weeks. But we can't wait to see these guys back in action as heard there 2 weeks from now as we're off next Saturday night for Daytona 500 for Valentine's Day as well. So obviously, a lot of these guys, they got wives, they got girlfriends, everything else. They got to take some time to show them some love as well. So we appreciate that. We appreciate them, taking that extra little time off there and showing the love, not only in their lives, but in my life as well. So we thank them for that. But even if they wanted to go racing next Saturday, I'd be right here. I'd be doing it, man. Whether it's a holiday, Mother's Day, it doesn't matter to me, man. If I get the call to be in the booth, I'm in the booth. And we'll be back up here in the broadcast booth again tomorrow night. Tomorrow night, we'll be back in the booth, man. I know it's the Super Bowl. I don't even know what time it starts. I mean, it's the Super Bowl tomorrow, and it feels like it's a mid-season game. Come on, New England and Seattle. I mean, they're both really good teams. They both played unreal this year, but it kind of feels like it doesn't have the hype around it. Like, it's the Super Bowl. No, it feels like it's mid-season game. Like, it doesn't feel like it's the Super Bowl, It just doesn't have that vibe to it yet, and so I think it probably starts at 6:30, but I could be wrong. Maybe it starts earlier, but I feel like it's probably a 6:30 game, especially being on the West Coast. I'm sure it's probably going to be starting a little bit later, so we'll have to wait and see, and maybe we can catch the tail end of it, maybe watch a little bit of it, skip the Bad Bunny halftime show and make sure we get our broadcast in tomorrow. And if you guys have time, or if you guys don't want to watch that Bad Bunny halftime show, make sure you guys tune in to us here. We'll be up in the booth and broadcasting our wheel-to-wheel racing leagues Clash at Dover tomorrow night. And hopefully we'll see some of these drivers in attendance and a lot of you fans of the stands tuning in and enjoying the show here with us tomorrow night. But thank y'all for watching. Thank y'all for tuning in. We'll see you guys back here in the next one, man. Peace and love, ladies and gentlemen. Peace and love.
Engines roar, the night ignites, rubber burns under neon lights, chrome shining, stars align, dreams hit the track, now it's grind time. Wrapped tight, tailpipes glow, pit stop precision, gotta keep that flow. Crowds a jungle, hearts in the joke, lap by lap, adrenaline spoke. Speed kings, chasing that checkered crown. Under the moon, we don't slow down. Saturday nights, we ride, we fly. Premium league, we touch the sky. Pedal to metal, no brakes in sight. Racing forever in the glowing night. V8 screaming, thunder on wheels, heat from the asphalt raw and real. Tracks a snake, it twists and winds, grip the wheel, leave fear behind. Spotlights dance, tires squeal, victory's close, you can almost feel. Pulse is wild, the finish looms, the checkered flag, it seals the room. Premium league, we touch the sky. Pedal to metal, no brakes in sight. Racing forever in the glowing night. V8 screaming, thunder on wheels, heat from the asphalt raw and real. Tracks a snake, it twists and winds, grip the wheel, leave fear behind. Spotlights dance, tires squeal, victory's close, you can almost feel. Pulse is wild, the finish looms, the checkered flag, it seals the room.